It's not on yet. Okay, we're good. We're good.
We're good? All right, good evening, everybody. Kicking off or coming back to the public portion of our meeting tonight. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Including Hillary.
Amen.
All right, so the first thing we want to do is we came out of a non-public session under RSA 91A 32A, B, and C. I would like to make a motion to seal the minutes except for the portion of the meeting under promotion and compensation so as to release the necessary information to the bookkeeper.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? And I should, since we're seconded for discussion, Diane reminded me and I forgot, but we do have one member of the board on Zoom. So Edvin, do you just want to state, as we typically do when somebody's on Zoom, why you're not here tonight?
Hey everyone, so unfortunately for the next couple of meetings I have some scheduling issues between my personal life and my professional life. So this is going to be the way I have to kind of figure things out, but I'm working on it and I do apologize to all the members of the town.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion, we have a second. Going to do a roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
Edvin?
Aye.
Matt's and I, that's unanimous.
Excuse
So-
me for 1 second.
Sure.
Edwin, you home alone?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're not talking about the movie, right? You're talking about the,
Yep.
just for the minutes, right? That's a key thing to put in the minutes. So, all right, so B is an update on investigation. So here's the way I'm gonna do this. There's gonna be a lot of reading probably and a lot of page flipping and stuff like that. So what I'd like to start off by saying is nobody on this board, probably nobody that works in the town hall ever thought they signed up for something like this, but the reality is these things happen. And, thusly we're here tonight. It's tough being in a position of decision-making, but that's what, believe it or not, we're elected for, is to make tough decisions. You sit there and you're like, well, maybe we could abstain because it deals with, an elected official, but you can't abstain. You have to make a decision. So here's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with kind of what brought us here. So there was a meeting in this room on March 7th. One of the things under scheduled business was a resident complaint, and I'm going to read right off the minutes. Selectman Burrell stated that the town received 2 complaints from residents concerning an elected official. He explained that a complaint is usually handled by the town administrator, but because the complaint is against an elected official, the board will be hiring a third party to investigate the allegations. So a motion was made by Selectman Michaels, who was with us at the time. Selectman Michaels moved to authorize Town Administrator Wrigley to engage the law firm of Jackson Lewis PC to investigate the complaints filed, seconded by Selectman Kronalik for discussion. The vote, hold on, I have to just go down here. There was a lot of discussion, as you might imagine. But at the end of the discussion, the motion passed with all 3 as aye. The next motion was made. Selectman Michaels moved on the advisement of council what is considered best practices to place town employee Lawrence B. Foote on paid administrative leave during the investigation effective immediately. This administrative leave includes his position as a member of the fire department and emergency management director, seconded by Selectman Kronalik. Michaels was an aye, Burrell and I, Kronalik and I. The next motion was made by myself. Selectman Burrell moved to direct all town employees and officials to cooperate fully with the investigation of these alleged activities as we move forward, and which may include surrendering any town devices such as laptops, smartphones, whatever may be required. Seconded by Chronolic. Michael's aye, Burl aye, Chronolic aye. And I think I have the last one here. Okay, so that was the motions, which also I should also note that at that point, there was one last motion in this area to appoint EMD Deputy McCarthy as Acting Emergency Management Director, seconded by Selectman Burl. Michael's aye, Burl aye, Chronolic aye. The next day, we as the Board of Selectmen received an email from Selectman Foote. He said, I have my Selectman's computer. I'm going to give it to Selectman Melvin to drop off for me. And he said, the phone is my phone. I am not going to be dropping that off. So there was some discussion as Nancy was engaging the law firm. There was some discussion around the phone in the account. And Nancy, correct me if any of this is wrong. Kim can probably tell me if it's wrong too. The bill comes from Verizon. It goes to the town of Newton EMD, 8 Merrimack Road.
Correct.
Goes directly to there. Then what typically happens is that bill is then sent to the bookkeeper, and then the bookkeeper cuts a check and pays the bill. So it is my understanding too that this may not be unusual for this department, that there might be other departments that do exactly the same thing, but we're just talking about this department right now. So the next thing that was kind of asked is, so that's the phone bill, the service, but there's an asset, right? There's the smartphone, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a record we purchased for this employee in 2017, a smartphone. Directly, the town paid for it. So the question is that the same phone? Most people don't keep a smartphone for 5 years, so we're unsure of that. And I'm just trying to keep my notes straight here. So the next thing that happened was Nancy, as per the motions, engaged the firm of Jackson and Lewis. So the report, we have an initial report here, and this is basically the way I see it, is this report, the board can vote to share this report tonight or not share it. And then the board is basically, it's up to us to make the decision. Is this the final report, closed report, and the town is moving on, or is this just an update to an investigation that needs to go further? This is a 5-page report. I can read it, every word of it, if that's what people think I should do. Most everybody's sitting down comfortable, so. What's that?
I would love to have it read.
To read, okay. Board, it really comes to the board. The board needs to make a motion to have me read it or not, is what I'm looking for.
I'll make the motion that you read the report.
Okay.
I'll second.
Seconded by Bob. Any discussion? All right, Edvin, oh, he's still there. Edvin?
Yeah, I'm still here, and move on to vote.
Okay, so you're an aye?
Oh, yes, I'm an aye, sorry.
Okay. Bob?
Aye.
Charlie's an aye. I'm an aye. So let me get a drink of water. I might need a few drinks of water. This will be a long one. So this is, it's in a memo format, and it's addressed to Nancy Wrigley, the town administrator. And confidential document, attorney-client privilege. But with the board's vote just now, I'll ask the board one more time, we're okay with this being read, so that attorney-client privilege would no longer apply. So it's R.E. Larry Foote. Dear Nancy, and by the way, this is from Nancy Oliver, so there's two Nancys involved here, but it's attorney Nancy Oliver from Jackson Lewis is writing this, okay? So it's, Dear Nancy, you contacted me on March 8th, 2022 and asked me to conduct an investigation regarding complaints made by Laura Hillard, a town resident, and Ryan Higgins, a town resident, against Larry Foote, the town's emergency management director and an EMT, as well as a selectman for the town. Specifically, the town residents submitted their complaints documentation allegedly representing conversations from Mr. Foote's Twitter account of arguably inappropriate interactions with various women online. The evidence was reviewed, compared, and analyzed under a preponderance of the evidence standard to determine whether the allegations were with or without merit. Preponderance of the evidence for purposes of this report means that the evidence on one side outweighs or is more than the evidence on the other side. The conclusions in this report are drawn from the totality of the evidence and a thorough analysis of all the facts, and where necessary, credibility determinations were made. If additional relevant information becomes available to me, I reserve the right to and expect to supplement this report. The timing within which the investigation was conducted was determined to be reasonable, given that Mr. Foote's attorney was not available to meet for an interview for 3 weeks due to scheduling as well as health issues. The town and its representatives allowed me complete discretion to conduct the investigation as I determined to be necessary, with no attempt to influence or direct the process or outcome of the investigation. I was given complete access to all witnesses and documents requested. Mr. Foote was a cooperative witness and was interviewed in person at his attorney's office. I conducted both Ms. Hillard and Mr. Higgins requesting interviews, and both declined to meet with me. So introduction, this is more of a listing here. So interviews Larry Foote on March 31st, 22, in person at his attorney's office. Laura Hillard and Ryan Higgins declined my request for an interview. Documents reviewed: complaint of Laura Hillard, complaint of Ryan Higgins, the town's complaint policy, emails regarding complaint, the town's social media policy, the town's computer, electronic mail, and internet access policy, the town's code of ethics policy, the town's anti-harassment discrimination policy, and timesheets of Mr. Foote. Section, or I should be doing the section marks here. Section C, at the beginning of each interview, each witness was told that 1, the town received a complaint about Mr. Foote. 2, I was hired as a neutral, independent investigator to do fact-finding. 3, the town expects all witnesses to cooperate in this investigation and to provide accurate and truthful information to the best of the witnesses' ability. 4, I had not reached any conclusions and would not do so until all the facts were gathered. 5, this investigation is a confidential one. It will only be reported to those who need to know it. As a result, you should not attempt to influence the investigation by trying to persuade others to support a particular viewpoint. Also, you should not tamper with or destroy any evidence that is related to the investigation. 6, the town strictly prohibits any retaliation against anyone who raises a complaint or who participates in the investigation. Witnesses were told that if they believe they have suffered retaliation, to please contact me immediately, meaning Attorney Oliver. Number 7, I would be taking notes during our interview and would not be recording the interview.
If you need a break, let me know.
I know, at some point I might take you up on that. So section 2 is background. After review of the complaint documentation received from Ms. Hillard and Mr. Higgins, I contacted both individuals by email to request that they meet with me to discuss their complaints in person. Mr. Higgins declined to meet with me, sending the below email. Honestly, and this is quoted as coming from Mr. Higgins, honestly, not much to talk about. The complaint I filed was for the attached folder of information that was given to me by someone else, parentheses, the other complaint that was submitted, end parentheses. I searched the proper way to give the information to the right person, and the complaint process through the town administrator was it. The information submitted are not my findings. My intent was because I was informed the previous complaint wasn't considered official, so that's why I submitted it, so the proper steps are taken. And Ms. Hillard initially agreed to meet with me, Attorney Oliver. However, several hours later, she sent the below email. I apologize for the inconvenience, but after sending the email earlier, I have had some time to think, and I'm not going to be meeting with anyone for this issue at this time. I'm going to seek the advice of a lawyer. Honestly, I'm not sure why I would help the town investigate this issue at all. I turned in something that is publicly available. I did so hoping to remain anonymous. Mr. Foote got my info, and my friend who also came forward and then contacted and threatened me. The police have the copy of the report and the threat. At this point, I only continue to abuse myself by participating in this situation. I felt very strongly that the things that I found on him should be brought up to protect the town. I agonized over the decision and spoke with my friend Ryan for advice, who has been dragged into this situation also. I came forward with the information only because I thought that there may be other victims out there of this behavior. This has proven to be true, as I have been contacted by several. I feel the town is responsible for the fact that these people will not come forward now. As I stated at the select board meeting Monday, that I am single, disabled, and have a son to take care of, and I have been put in danger by this situation. Thank you. Now, this is Attorney Oliver's info. Ms. Hillard's complaint documentation contained a letter which stated that she had recently viewed a video of the Meet the Candidates night and witnessed comments that concerned her. Road agent Pavero spoke of a hypothetical situation that could have arisen, with a selectman being accused of sexual harassment. The comment triggered some thoughts which caused her to search for a conversation she had seen on Twitter between Mr. Foote and another person online she believed to be female. Ms. Hillard described what she viewed as a sexually graphic photo and Mr. Foote offering the person money to meet up in real life and stating how much the person was worth. This occurred on March 27th, 2020. Ms. Hillard attached several pages of messages stating that there are many replies to sexually graphic tweets, including photos of gender or transgender individuals. She described some of the threads as Mr. Foote trying to get the person to meet for sex. Ms. Hillard stated in her letter that she was saddened by what she found. She claimed that one account of Mr. Foote used a profile photo she claimed she knew was taken in the fire station bathroom. Ms. Hillard further stated that she hoped that these things did not negatively affect the town, especially the fire department. She stated that she did not feel that anything inappropriate such as this would be tolerated. The complaint form from Mr. Higgins stated, binder attached with supplemental info. The documentation submitted by Mr. Higgins was basically repetitive of the documentation submitted by Ms. Hillard. The documentation of both parties consisted of alleged conversations that took place on social media on March 27th, 2020 and in April 2021. Neither complaint specifically alleges that Mr. Foote used town equipment to make the post they attribute to him, nor do they specifically allege that Mr. Foote made the post they attribute to him during work hours for the town. The complaint seemed to imply that the alleged online actions of Mr. Foote are inappropriate and reflect negatively on the town, which is why they felt the town should know about the posts. Mr. Foote stated that he has full-time employment as a dispatcher at the Lawrence, Mass. Fire Department. He is in his 9th year as a selectman for the town of Newton, an elected position. He is also the town's emergency management director, and he works as an EMT for the town. He receives a salary from the town for his positions as selectman and is paid for the hours worked for EMD and EMT positions. He has no set hours for these positions he holds with the town. Due to his position as EMD, Mr. Foote followed various threads on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook relating to public safety issues. He stated that he was a passive follower and did not post content himself. Mr. Foote follows a reporter from the Eagle Tribune in Methuen, Mass., Jill, and I can never pronounce her name, Harmoniski, Mr. Foote and Ms. Harmoniski became friends. In April 2020, Ms. Harmoniski, and I hope that's right, called Mr. Foote's partner at the Lawrence Fire Department and told him to tell Mr. Foote to check his Twitter account because based on the content she had recently viewed, she believed that Mr. Foote's account had been hacked. When Mr. Foote checked the account, he saw the posts comprised, I think is what that word's supposed to be, the complaint documentation, and therefore deleted the account. His Instagram account was also hacked. Mr. Foote stated that once an account is hacked, the best thing to do is delete the account. That is why the accounts cannot be found now, because he deleted them once he discovered the hacks. Mr. Foote provided with a copy of the text exchange between him and Ms. Hermansky from April 1st, 2020. So he provided that to Nancy Oliver, in which he texted her to thank her for warning him of the content that was appearing on his Twitter account and stating that he had deleted the account. Ms. Harmoniski, and I'm on the last page, responded, "No worries on my part. I figured you got hacked and didn't want you to be embarrassed." Mr. Foote called Ms. Harmoniski during our interview, and although she declined to speak with me on the phone, meaning Nancy Oliver, I could hear the conversation in which she confirmed notifying Mr. Foote's partner regarding the alleged hack, as well as the text communication between them. Mr. Foote noted that around this time, his Instagram and Facebook accounts were also hacked. Based on the foregoing, Mr. Foote denies making any of the arguably inappropriate posts stating that his account has been hacked. As soon as he learned of the content, he deleted the account. Mr. Foote believes that an issue is being made of these posts now, more than a year after the last arguably inappropriate post, because there are individuals in the town who do not like him and want to embarrass him. Section 3, conclusion. I do not find, by a preponderance of the evidence, that Mr. Foote engaged in inappropriate actions on social media, given the corroboration from Ms. Harmoniski through her text message from April 1st, 2020, in her telephone conversation with Mr. Foote during our interview, that she viewed content on his Twitter account in 2020 that led her to believe that he had been hacked. I find Mr. Foote's contention that his Twitter account had been hacked credible. I likewise find credible his contention that he did not post the arguable offensive content and that this was created by the individual who hacked his account. Neither Mr. Higgins nor Ms. Hillard have provided evidence that it was Mr. Foote himself who made the arguably inappropriate post. And it is possible that a person's account could be hacked in content that was not created by the account holder. Since I find Mr. Foote's explanation regarding the hacking of this account credible, there is no need to determine whether or not the content was posted using town equipment or on town time. I will note, however, that Mr. Foote stated that he and not the town purchased the past 2 phones he has owned, and the town provides him a stipend for the phone bill. However, he owns the phone. The town stated that it purchased Mr. Foote a phone in 2017. However, it is unable to now account for this phone. Thank you for asking me to conduct this investigation. Please let me know if you have any questions. Very truly yours, Nancy E. Oliver. So next, what happened was this report was submitted to Nancy. Nancy then alerted the Board of Selectmen that she had this report, and she offered us, the 4 of us, the opportunity to come in and read it. And what we did was we then set up a client and attorney meeting for last, I believe it was Tuesday night, to discuss this report with Attorney Oliver. And, you know, I would just sum up that meeting as basically she discussed what was in the report, which I've read. There wasn't much, I think, groundbreaking outside of that. However, after that meeting, or after that attorney-client meeting, we did have a previously scheduled select board meeting to, one of the items on the agenda was, as people know, the town administrator is retiring, but I made 2 motions during that meeting, and the first one was, and this was during a public meeting, Selectmen, so what I did was I proposed to the board that we send 2 letters, hopefully 2 letters, to the EMD director. The first letter was basically to kind of summarize what we had said earlier, that we're looking for cooperation to get assets of the town back in this investigation. So I moved to sign a letter and send it to the EMD director about turning in the phone. It was seconded by Selectman Marchand with a roll call vote. It was, the motion failed 2-2. I'll let the board members discuss how they voted. So that motion failed. The next motion I made was Chairman Burrell moved that he has a letter, and Nancy put the letter together. I think I have it in here somewhere. But essentially what the letter was a letter, because I think, Nancy, you can tell us, you've called Verizon, they won't let you do anything with the account because only Larry has the quote-unquote keys to the account, okay? So what Verizon told Nancy is you need some sort of letter, some email from the account holder saying, please turn this over to the town.
Do you want the letter?
Yeah, if you could just read it really quickly. So what my motion was to provide this letter to Selectman Foote to sign it so we could send it to Verizon so the account would come back to us. So what does the letter
So
say?
this was addressed to Verizon and the mailing address, and it says, I, Lawrence B. Foote, am requesting you transfer my Town of Newton Emergency Management Department Verizon mobile account, and the account number, phone number, and account owner's social security number. Those were the 3 requirements. To the Town of Newton, to Town Hall Road, Newton, New Hampshire, effective immediately.
So as we commonly do with official documentation, we ask the police department to bring it to his house.
Correct.
With the intention, if he signed it, we're just gonna put a stamp on it. And we had a return of service from the police department. He basically just said, the police made contact and they were advised that they have to go through his attorney for any paperwork. So that particular motion passed 3-1, and so that's why the letter was brought over there. So before we moved on to town administrator recruitment stuff, which we'll talk about later in this meeting, we did decide as a board we're going to bring this to this meeting tonight, that the report and anything else had to be, on TV in front of the, transparent in front of the people, and that's kind of how we got here tonight. So I've done plenty of talking. Kind of where I'd like to see this meeting go right now is to hear from each board member where their mind is at and what they want to do next, and this will work us towards a vote of what we're going to do next. So any board member want to go first?
Well, the laptop, so to speak, that we did get from the EMD was sent out. That came back clean, just so you know. They,
Sorry. That's never happened to me before. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
So that came back clean. They couldn't find anything on it, nothing disturbing or anything like that. So the letter that came back, what I would like to see is it get sent to his attorney, because I would like to get custody of the phone. And if that was to come back clean, then I think that would pretty much be it. I mean, there's really nothing else at that point that we can do, because there's no other testimony. Like the attorney said, there's no real, there's no evidence to make him guilty of anything if he's doing something on his own account. I mean, even if he had done that And if he did it when he was doing his other job in Lawrence, but the photo shot was of him that he had in the firehouse, I see that. But right now, we're coming up empty. I don't want to continue to waste money, but like I said, I think that the phone is the last piece. We need to see what happens with that, and then at that point, whatever happens, the case is going to end up being closed, because there's nothing else we can do unless somebody was to actually come forward to sign something, an affidavit to say that he sexually harassed them. Because that's everything that she got has nothing to say that Mr. Foote sexually harassed anybody or did anything, verbally, physically, or any of that. What it is just simply something that somebody may have done via, on the web. So, I mean, that's where we're at. And I don't want to continue to waste time if we can't come up with anything. And Mr. Foote, the other thing that I'll say is he hasn't been showing up for, we were asked why we're short a board member. He's not subject to not being able to show up for the selectmen. That is of his own accord, just so that the public knows that. He was put on paid leave of his EMD duties, and it's his own choice not to be here as a selectman. So that's where I'm at with it.
Thank you. Edvin, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, so I mean, realistically, Bob summarized everything. It's just the money spending thing is tough to keep on doing. I mean, as you said in the report, nobody really wants to speak to us, and I just truly don't want to spend more money on this subject. And yeah, I mean, Bob luckily summarized everything. I'm trying to put words together, but my biggest thing is money on this investigation just is not something that I'm willing to keep on spending on.
All right, thank you, Edvin. Charlie?
Told you I was staying out of it.
You're just going to stay out of it?
That's what I'm gonna do.
Doesn't affect you at all?
How can it affect me? The guy is innocent.
Okay.
And we did suspend him as a selectman too.
We did not.
Okay.
There was no minutes or anything where we voted to do that.
And you can't.
And we can't. It's, so, so,
He'd have been here.
okay.
That's all I gotta say.
All right. So I guess that leaves me. So here's where I'm at in, Bob touched upon some of it, Edvin touched upon some of it. The first thing I want to say is I'm not looking for an outcome here, a specific outcome, right? I'm an agent of the town, and it's my responsibility, along with everybody on the Board of Selectmen, is a custodian of many things in this town, one of which is the complaint process. And I hope people understand that you can't sit there and look at a complaint and say, oh, geez, I know this person, this can't be correct, I'll just rip this up and ignore it. Nor can you turn around and say, geez, this person, oh, yeah, I could see you did it, let's make life difficult for him. Like, I hope people understand. We have to remain neutrals as adjudicators, which I think is what we're going to do tonight. I believe that phone is our property. I would venture to guess if you surveyed a bunch of people in town who paid taxes, they'd agree with me. I also believe that it's about due diligence, and I don't think this report is due diligence, and the reason I don't think it is because there's still question marks, and I think whatever side of the argument you're on, you don't want question marks left. Bob made a point. He said, if we get the phone, we look at the phone and we're done. For the most part, we're done, and we're moving on. And more importantly, to say is the town can move on, right? If I'm on either side, I don't want this, you can't unring a bell, right? So if somebody was truly hacked, that's awful. like shame on you if you're a hacker and you saddled somebody with this reputation. You know, but at the same time, if you actually did it, I find that disqualifying. I wouldn't vote for a person like that. I wouldn't want them working for us. So I don't want the question marks hanging out there. I also feel as though in this report it's mentioned there was some kind of cause and effect. And I believe that some of us on the board were copied on a few cause and effect emails. And what I mean by that is I'm not going to characterize these emails because, you know, that's not my job as a selectman, but those cause and effect emails. In other words, if this person told us, if you continue following the process, then I'm going to do X. That disturbs me more than anything else, frankly, quite frankly. I might be alone in that. We are the custodians of the process. What happens next time? How do you come back from that? So in other words, if somebody comes along and wants to complain about something and knows there's going to be repercussions, you know, is it a chilling effect on being able to report things? So I go back to it. I believe that phone is a town asset that we need to be given access to and then go from there. You know, quite frankly, I think 99% of social media these days is done on a handheld device. I don't think anybody's using a computer much for social media. To be honest with you, I've never seen Larry with the town computer up here. I might have that wrong, but I mean, the computer doesn't get used. So I guess to sum it up, I think there's more we should do before we call this done. And again, I'm not looking for a specific outcome. I just want an outcome, a clean outcome. So with that, do any town members have any? I'm sure you do. So remember.
Yeah, we have some people on Zoom as well.
Okay, let's start in the room, then we'll go to Zoom. But just remember, everybody's going to be in front of a microphone so it can be heard. So Mike, go ahead.
Good evening, Board. I'm going to address the Board in two positions tonight. My first one's going to be a resident of the town of Newton, and later I'll do it as a elected town official, as a road agent. First, a couple things disturb me tonight. Individually said, some in the report, some things I'm pleased about because the synopsis is that this investigation, at least from how I'm reading it, is not done. At least I hope it's not done, because what I read or what I heard you read in that report is not an investigation. That's some shuffling of paper. That's all that is. To clarify, and not to muddy the waters, there's actually been 4 complaints against Selectman Foote since 2017. The first one was from me. The second one was from a lady out of the country. And the last 2 were the 2 that you're talking about tonight. And I can tell you from my position, and this one's still undetermined, that there really hasn't been an investigation on any of them. The first one from the woman for Canada, and again, this is my take, got swept under the rug with some niceties of it wasn't filled out as a formal complaint under a town complaint form. That woman was serious when she sent that document to the town to do an investigation about improper conduct. And at the end of the day, the truth is what you guys should be after, not a cost. Sure, cost is a piece of the component of how we get to it. But don't write it off because it's going to cost some money, or it's going to take some time, or it's going to take some effort. Don't take the path of least resistance, because that's what I see is going on right now. You had one selectman say he's innocent.
Right, he is innocent.
How did you determine that? By the fact finding?
By the fact finder.
Ooh, okay. So let me quiz you on that. The evidence is multiple. It's not just that phone. There's social media things that came out after this was uncovered. And I said in the selectmen's meeting, I don't know which one it was, that I was very disappointed in how this was handled, because the two complainants that the attorney went to talk to don't want to talk to the attorney, don't want to talk to anybody, because the evidence was botched. Their names should have been redacted, but they weren't. They were showed in totality, and the ramifications was there was a threat made to one of the complainants.
That was a he said, she said.
No, it was not. That's a
That was a
formal...
he said, she said, and it was given to the police department to handle.
You are correct. It was given to the police department with a screenshot of the correspondence. So, I'm going to stop you before you answer that. Is this a hack too?
Why didn't we see it?
Oh, I don't know. You guys are
Well, I'm
handling
asking you.
investigation.
Well, you know about this evidence. Why didn't we see it?
Oh, Charlie, again, I
helped
don't
us.
know. You guys are the investigators.
No, we're not. We hired an investigator.
I'll agree with him on that part. We're not the investigators. We're the decision makers at the end.
Okay. Was the question asked by the Board of Selectmen for all pertinent information pertaining to this? I don't think it was, because the attorney's investigator, best of my knowledge, has not checked with local law enforcement, because if they did, that document would have been produced. Listen, I'm only here for the truth. If Selectman Foote is innocent, if he's innocent, prove the innocence. It's really simple. Prove the innocence.
Prove the guilt.
Okay.
It isn't there.
Here's what we should do then. Just a thought. Why don't we put this in the hands of people that do this for a living? The Attorney General's office or the County Attorney's office. These people do it for real. That's their job.
I didn't have any problem with that.
Okay, so why haven't we done that?
Ask your chairman.
Wow.
I'm not even
How's
gonna,
the hey, Matt? Hey, Matt, can I ask you a question?
I'm not dignifying that with a response, so go
I
ahead.
was just going to ask how the bus felt just then.
Yeah, I think it was yellow, big bus. Yeah.
Okay. So, honestly, I'm not going to get long-winded up here. I want the truth. That's all I want. I think that's what everybody in this room wants. I think that's what every resident in this town should get. You have an elected town official. I, personally, still believe, it's getting harder and harder every day when you watch the news, that there's some morality to the elected group of people. Town, state, and federal. The fabric is getting really worn out because I don't see it that much. So how about we start here in the town and pursue the truth? Charlie, why do you laugh?
Because the truth's there.
No, it isn't.
Well-
Nobody in this room would agree with that statement. You'd be the only one.
Well,
You don't
you'll
have any
find out.
facts, Charlie.
You'll find out.
We will?
Yeah, you'll
Okay,
find out.
so let me go through a scenario in my head as I've listened to all the bits and pieces here tonight. And I don't know, somebody else can come to the mic after I'm done. If I was hacked, if my phone was hacked, or I had a piece of equipment that was hacked, and I knew about it, because back a year ago, 12 months ago, when the woman from Canada sent down her complaint, that was the claim. My phone has been hacked. I didn't do it. Any rational person would close the account immediately and go tooth and nails to prove their innocence.
He did.
He did not.
He closed the account.
No, he did
Says
not.
it right
Back
in
12
their
months
letter.
ago.
It says it right there in their letter.
Not 12 months ago. And where was the investigation 12 months ago?
Nobody-
It was a
nobody
letter from
came
you.
forward.
It was a letter from you, sent from you personally, not approved by the board.
You're wrong. I
I'm
did
not
not. You are wrong. You do not have an email of me emailing that lady in Canada. You have it from Nancy, because I gave Nancy that direction.
So So there's many,
Nancy came to me,
time,
wait a minute, Matt. Nancy came to me and asked me to handle it because she had talked to an attorney, and the attorney said that Mr. Foote shouldn't handle it, have the vice chairman handle it. Then she came to me and she said, will you handle this? And I said, yes. And so I gave her a direction to call, well, not call, but email the people in Canada and tell the people in Canada that we need it on town forms. She did.
Okay.
We waited 2 weeks. We got no response from that person whatsoever.
Okay.
So I told Nancy to email the lady back and tell the lady that Vice Chairman Charles Melvin Sr. has not received any complaint, written complaint. I'm calling the matter closed. Now, that didn't say that she couldn't turn around and put in another complaint, and they never did. So that's what happened.
Charlie, I heard everything you said, and I'm pretty good with the English language.
I don't think so.
No, I'm pretty good with it. Trust me.
so Mike, I'm gonna ask you to kind of wrap this up because we have others.
Okay. So I guess I'm standing here as a resident, not guessing, I'm standing here as a resident requesting that you continue this investigation and give it to the people that do this for a living and have a real full-fledged investigation. And at the end of it, the truth is the truth. If it's been hacked and this guy has somehow been smeared, then it'll be shown. If it isn't, and these allegations are true, then the punishment should fit the crime. But right now, we have no outcome. We have 5 pages from an attorney that's not an investigator. There's a paper shuffler. So that's my request.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm leaving.
Okay.
Probably leaving the building. The next part is going to be, depending on how this is done and handled, I still have some moral and ethics, and I'm going to keep them. And if this isn't handled correctly, I personally am going to evaluate my position with the town, my elected position with the town, and how I move forward from here. So I'm hoping you're going to do the right thing and get to the bottom of the truth. The truth.
Thank you. And I think, was there somebody on Facebook, Edvin, that needed?
Zoom.
Or Zoom, I'm sorry, Zoom.
Anthony?
Yep.
You
Yep,
need
that would be me.
Anthony, you need to tell me your full name and where you are from.
Sure. My name is Anthony. Last name is Levin. I live in Newton, New Hampshire.
Go ahead, Anthony.
So, obviously not directly involved, but I do have some concerns about what the quote-unquote report is saying. The claim of that they find it credible that his Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter were all hacked all at the same time, and yet the dates don't seem to line up. As far as I can tell, the messages started on February 19th, continued into March 3rd, continued on March 9th, the 16th, the 27th, and the 28th. So when exactly was Mr. Foote hacked, and when did he submit from this reporter that wouldn't talk to an investigative third party?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. It also takes about 15 minutes to recover any of those accounts, including any of the deleted or still present messages that somebody was sending, which, if you're looking at these dates that I'm looking at, seems to have been happening for weeks on end, and somehow Mr. Foote just wasn't aware. I find that to be coincidental, and I don't believe in coincidence. So having an investigation by an actual qualified, as the road agent just mentioned, someone who's actually qualified would probably go a long way. Recovering those accounts should absolutely be mandatory. The laptop being sent out to who and came back clean, how? What forensic analysis was done on it?
Yeah, and I think what Bob meant by that was our own IT
Right.
support looked at it and did not find anything of the objectionable nature, I think is what.
So you're talking about Armon Networks down in Plastow?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and the skill sets that they have as an MSP don't include or encompass forensic analysis.
Yeah, probably not.
So, again, he was given time when this was reported. There was no backup on that laptop, no endpoint isolation, no managed detection or response at all from Armon. At the last one of the meetings where Laura Hillard spoke, she mentioned why does he have the laptop? Why does he still have a phone? Again, the phone is something that's easy to determine. Are there device payments that the town is paying for? It's a town-owned phone. Why doesn't the town have a bring your own device policy? Why doesn't the town have a mobile device management solution?
Yeah, I mean, my answer to that was, this was before my time, but you're absolutely right. We just as a side note, unrelated to this, we need to have strict policies about all of these assets and use of phones.
So, I mean, and that's something that the town should absolutely do
Yeah.
in the immediate future.
Yep.
But giving somebody, if he still has a phone, there's nothing stopping him from stopping Mr. Foote or anyone else who's in possession physically of an asset of any kind, whether it's a cell phone or a mobile device of another flavor, a tablet or a laptop, or with remote access to email, which he had at the time, to the best of my knowledge. So where are all the backups? Where is your Exchange Online or Exchange On-Prem, depending on what the town has? Where are the backups of the data, and who's doing the forensic analysis besides Armon, who outsources 98% of their services to a company called Icon Technologies in India, which begs the question, why are they even being engaged for managed service provider, since you're a government agency and an entity where an outside of the US source is accessing data on top of everything else?
I don't know that to be true, so.
It's not to my knowledge. This is
It is
Diane.
absolutely 100% too.
This is Diane. I spoke to the technician that looked at both laptops, and one laptop hasn't been on for a couple of years. The other one was securely stationed in the EMD office and hadn't been touched. So they looked at it locally and did not find anything.
So it hadn't been on in 2 years, so where is that machine and also
It's
the
in
one
the,
that...
it's in my vault. Well, not my vault, the town's vault.
Right.
It's pretty safe.
Okay, that's great. The CEO and founder, Tushar Shalar of Icon Technologies, is contracted by Armon Technologies, and that's who does the investigations. You might talk to somebody locally, but you can feel free to ask Tim Howard if he works with Icon Technologies, and he does.
Okay. All right.
The other machine he had remote access to. So even if it was in the fire department or wherever else, if it had an internet connection, it was accessible.
Okay. All right, anything else?
What was the date on when the reporter allegedly contacted Mr. Foote saying that the account had been compromised, or that she believed that it was compromised?
April 1st, 2020?
So would that, how would that explain February 19th as a message that Mr. Foote was sending? Was he hacked then too? And several years back with a woman from Canada? Or is it just a convenient excuse that he constantly claims when he does something wrong that he was hacked? And is the town going to recover those accounts and actually investigate it?
Okay, anything else?
I don't think he answered the question there.
Yeah, it's not for me to answer right now. It would be for the board to answer. So I'm sure the board's going to have answers in the next few minutes, but it's something on the table quite clearly. Anybody else have any comments? Mary Jo, you had walked over there. Were you just getting some exercise?
People are just saying what I'm.
Okay, cool. Lisa?
All right, so I just want to address the issue with the cell phone. I heard it mentioned that it was a stipend paid by the town. However, a stipend is a set amount each month paid by the town to the employee. Or if it was a reimbursement, he would be submitting it. An example is the stipend that we pay the assistant building inspector for his cell phone. He owns his phone, he has his phone bill, he pays his phone bill. We, as a town, pay him X amount of dollars every quarter, I think, for using his personal phone for town business. In this particular case, what I am hearing is that the town is paying the bill. The bill goes directly to the town, not in Mr. Foot's name, but in the name of the town of Newton. The town of Newton pays the entire bill. The town of Newton paid for a phone when that account was opened, and the town of Newton has never received that phone back. Is that all correct?
I believe that's correct.
That is a problem.
I can, yeah, I need head nods, but yeah.
So even if Selectman Foot went out and bought a new phone out of his own pocket, as soon as he put that SIM card or transferred that phone number over to it, that became a gray area with property of the town.
Anybody else on Zoom or?
I don't see any hands raised.
No.
No, I'm with you with the phone, because generally, anybody and everybody out here that has a cell phone, when you take your cell phone, you turn it in to get credit and get a reduction on your new one. So, like you said, with the SIM thing, and what they do is, all that information gets downloaded on that phone from whatever happened previously on the first one. So it's all right there, and that's why, that's one of the big key components about what's going on. And I, like Mike, you know, I want the truth, and like I said, the parameters are this. So we're trying to prove sexual harassment, right? That this is what he's doing and what he's done as an elected official. What he does on his own time, like if he's going on to these sites and whatever, personally, none of my business. That's between him, his wife, his family, whatever, if he was doing that. But if he is acting as an elected official or as an EMD, and he is going around sexually harassing somebody as an employee of the town or an elected official, then he needs to be held accountable. And we need evidence to be able to substantiate that. And without evidence, and without somebody coming forward, or the woman from Canada, or whatever, nothing's going to be proven. So even if we got his cell phone and we found out that he was going on social media doing stuff, that is not sexual harassment. The chief is right there. He can tell.
If it's the town's fault. If it's the town's account, it is misuse of town property.
Lisa.
I think everyone heard me.
Okay, yeah. So Lisa just said, you know, her concern is it's misuse of town property. I'm, you know, what you're saying, Bob, I don't disagree, but I do kind of agree that one of the issues here is misuse of town property. And those accounts, at least the screenshots that I saw, and by the way, this was put online by somebody, so everybody in the world has seen this now. We didn't put it out there. But the accounts said Newton NHEMD, so it was also a representation. Somebody who didn't know any better could have thought this was a Newton Twitter, a Newton Instagram. So, Mike, you're back.
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Mike Pavero, town resident. I have to disagree with Bob, fundamentally. I think when you run for office and you're an elected official, you hold yourself on a higher standard. So here's the deal. If you're in a bar bad-mouthing another town employee, if your conduct is unbecoming, you should be held accountable for that conduct. So let's not get focused completely on the phone. If there's conduct unbecoming, let's get to the bottom of it. The phone just happens to be the weapon in choice right now. Again, I'm leaving. Do an investigation, please.
All right, before we get this back to the board, any other resident have any comments? Anybody on the Zoom?
Yes. Bob, we had a baby and it's a boy. Congratulations, Bob.
All right, go ahead, Bob. Unless that was, sometimes I do that, like you hit the wrong key with your mouse and you
There he
raise
is. Bob, can
It's actually Laura Hillard. Sorry, I used a goofy name on my phone. Well, I just wanted to first of all say Burrell for president, but I wanted to just say three things. Number one, I did not cooperate with the town attorney because our names were given out within 24 hours to Mr. Foote. So by the time, when we were asked to come in and take time out of our days to come and discuss this with an attorney, I thought it was a waste of time because the fact that this information existed online had nothing to do with me. I found it, I alerted the town of it existing, and boy, do I regret that. I'm not going to get into anything else about anything else except to say that Mr. Melvin should go to the police department and read the message that Larry sent me, because it's not he said, she said. I haven't spoken to him. And before this all, I would have told anybody in this town that Larry was amazing to me. I had no problem with him. In fact, the only person I've had a problem with is the only person who has been standing up there tonight defending me or standing up there and talking anything that makes sense. And third, I hope that the taxpayers enjoy if this isn't investigated and then I find out that the message that Larry sent to harass me was from the cell phone that the town refused to take from him. I'm going to speak to an attorney because it's ridiculous. I think this whole situation was handled so completely ass backwards. I am embarrassed to be from this town. That's all I'm going to say.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? No? All right, so let's circle back to where we are. So as I said at the beginning of this thing, this report is either an update on where we are now and we're going forward, or the way I see it, this report could be the final report if that's how the board votes. So anybody want to make any motions specific to either the whole thing or different steps we want to take?
I'll make a motion.
What's your motion,
My
Charlie?
motion would be to send that paperwork over to Mr. Foote's attorney.
I thought you were staying out of this.
Okay, I'll stay out of it then.
No, you can make the motion, but I'm just saying 10 minutes ago you were out of this. All right, so we have a motion on the table. Anybody want a second?
What paperwork are we talking about, please?
I think he meant the Jackson Lewis report. Yeah.
Just send the report?
To
Send it over to Larry's
Larry's
attorney.
attorney.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. Any seconds on that one? So I'm going to second it for discussion. We just read the whole report on TV and on YouTube, so they're going to have it anyway, so I don't have a problem with sending it to the attorney. It's being transparent, which is an important thing. So Charlie moved on the second on sending this report to Larry's attorney. Any discussion? Hopefully not. So we'll roll call vote. Edvin, how do you vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Bob?
Aye.
Charlie? And Matt's an aye. So we've got that much accomplished. Any other,
There is
Diane?
somebody dot, just a dot, if they don't state their name. I mean, I don't know who they are.
Do they go by Dottie, maybe?
No, just a plain
Dot or
dot.
Dottie. So go ahead. You're raising your hand. Is it again, maybe a misfire on the mouse? I've done that before.
Yep,
in there.
misfire,
Okay,
evidently.
cool, they're on mute. So any other motions from the board?
I make a motion that we continue the investigation because I feel it's not complete. And that we continue to try to get the phone because I feel, like you said, that everybody uses their phones for whatever. So any emails that were sent out that could be harassment, like, I'm sorry, what was her name again?
You're just moving to continue the investigation?
Yeah,
It's
That's a good
Laura.
motion, okay.
Laura.
Talking about Laura.
Right, Laura, right. So, because there are a lot of answers that are still incomplete, and everything, like Mike was talking about and other people were talking about, in order to have a total,
Just so you know, it's a really long motion,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so basically you're
just put
making a motion to continue the investigation due to incompleteness.
They can second it, and then you can
Exactly, you can discuss further, but just get a period on the end of the
Yeah,
motion,
go ahead.
because Diane gets tired.
Yeah,
all right, so I'll redo it. I make a motion to continue the investigation.
okay, thank you.
Perfect.
Who second?
Anybody seconding?
Second for discussion. Second for discussion.
Go ahead, Edvin, with the discussion.
So Bob, in that, how are we continuing?
Like I said, we need to get hold of the phone. We need to see if there were texts sent out to people, right? Because as an elected official, if there were people that were threatened about what's going on, period, first of all, that is unacceptable. And then we need to, there's a couple other things that need to be answered that I believe.
So, I mean, do we proceed, are you, with the motion, do you want to proceed with a company, or do you want to proceed, who's doing the further investigation?
Well, we need to get that letter to his attorney about the phone so that we can get that phone back.
All right, no, I'm trying to figure out, I understand what you're saying with, continue the investigation, but we just have to, I'd like to have a clear path of how, who, and what. Who's going to continue it? Is it you and I physically going to person's house? I mean, who's continuing the investigation?
So can I jump in here? Because I think Bob's on the right track in terms of, we need one motion to say we're continuing, but Edvin makes a good point that before we leave this room, we need to be very specific about who we're going to engage or not engage or whatever, So I don't think it has to necessarily be in your motion, but there should be a subsequent motion. We're still in discussion, so Mary Jo.
This is just a suggestion. If you need to go somewhere with this investigation, Mr. Pavero has already suggested with this should have started was at the county attorney's office. You don't want to spend the money. I heard that somewhere, which is, just a horrible phrase. We want to stop spending the money. You want to spend the money, give it to the county attorney. It doesn't cost us anything. This is what they do. We are a government, we are a municipality. When there is something wrong in the municipality, in the government, you kick it up to the county attorney. They look into it. The other thing with the hack, when you get that phone, I don't see why you cannot tell if somebody has been hacked. That's a lawyer. I suggest you give it to a computer forensic and see if he has been hacked. That's just my suggestion. But county attorney is wonderful. They help the towns. That's what they're there for.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? So again, Bob, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it's a motion just to establish that there is a next step, right?
Right.
Yeah,
That we have to go further with it.
right. Lisa?
So can we have a
Just
friendly
one-
amendment? Oh,
Sorry, just one more thing, since we're discussing the furthering investigation. I did hear how he was notified he had been hacked, he closed his accounts. Do we have any screenshots or proof that he actually went out? Because typically, the people I know who have been hacked, one of the first things they do is they reach out to all their friends and everyone they know. If their Facebook gets hacked, they post it out there saying, I've been hacked. If you receive something from me, ignore it. Do we have any of that as proof that at that time he sent these kind of messages out to friends, associates, etc., anyone that he may have been concerned might have seen or heard of these things? That could be proof that he is innocent and he really was hacked.
That was not part of what was submitted.
Correct. I didn't hear any mention of that whatsoever.
Yeah. So Edvin, you said friendly amendment?
I mean, I think we should add it, you know, what Mike said and what Mary Jo had mentioned, you know, let's then bring this to the county attorney and see what happens from there. I mean, I think getting a private investigator again to kind of do the same thing, you know, I want to see this happen the right way. And you know, if people think that the county attorney is the next step, then let's proceed that way.
So,
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I don't think we're done with the lady that did this. We need to go somewhere else with it.
Can I make a suggestion that you add to your amendment to bring this to the county attorney?
do you want to add that, Bob?
Yep, we can add that.
So my only, and I don't want to get him involved here, but he's shaking his head, as the person in the room who deals with the county attorney's office the most is in the back of the room, and I could be totally wrong. You can just nod or shake your head, Chief. My guess is, and I'm just guessing, and I'm not saying make my information, I don't think the county attorney's office would touch this. I could be wrong, so.
I mean, I agree as well, but I mean, if people,
I mean,
if that's
it's
what way we wanna
worth,
go, then let's do it.
it's worth the reaching out part, right? But,
Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's
yeah.
worth reaching out.
yeah. Chief, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. To answer your question, would the county attorney look at it? Most likely, but the way the county attorney would work is in the way, just so everybody understands, the Newton Police Department can't investigate we don't investigate our own people. We don't investigate anything really with the town or that kind of stuff unless it's a ex-employee, something like that. If this was going to get looked at, like we've done in other things, you'd have to look at either state police or the sheriff's department to initially look at the investigation, and then if there was anything there, they would give it to the county attorney. The county attorney does have investigators that do it, but I think you're going to need an agency to do it, like state police or the sheriff's department. That's how typically that stuff works. You could float it right up to the county attorney's office. You guys have that power because as a board, I don't think I could do it, but you could as a board, and get, and let the county attorney make a recommendation. I can't speak for her.
Yep. Okay, so are we, so you've amended your motion?
Yep.
To anything in addition to that? Because here's my fear. And I said this before when we met in March. The board should not be the investigators, okay? The board needs to be the adjudicators. Somebody else needs to investigate. So we need to empower somebody. We do not have somebody in town who can do the investigating, right? So we have to empower somebody. So let's say we go to the county attorney looks at it, sends it to the sheriff, and we go down there, and then we get a letter back in, hopefully a reasonable amount of time where they said, no, there's no crime here. And I don't know if there is or there isn't. I'm not gonna make that determination, but let's say they come back and say there's no crime here, this is not us, we suggest you go to some other agency. Maybe it's a state agency, maybe it's a private agency. We need to kind of figure out tonight where we're going after that, because for this to happen and us all have to get together again to figure out where we're going after that, I don't think that's an efficient use of anybody's time.
I mean, if it's got to go to the district attorney, then I'm all for that.
Well, county attorneys, the
Same thing.
in Rockingham.
Yeah.
So I guess my friendly amendment is, number one, county attorney. Number two, might be unpopular, re-engage with this firm to get their recommendations for another entity who can do a forensic investigation. And number three, if that doesn't come out, then we meet again to discuss what happens next. We need to empower people to do this. We can't be constantly steering the ship, I guess is what you
Exactly.
say. So that's what I would add to the motion if you're.
I'm fine with that.
So Diane, that's all over the place. What do you have?
She's got a
I
headache.
think I've got, let's see, where's the motion? Selectman Marshal move to continue the investigation utilizing the county attorney and, if necessary, contact the,
Jackson Lewis.
yeah, what is it?
Jackson Lewis?
Jackson and Lewis for recommendations for a forensic investigation?
Yes, yeah.
That sound right?
Yeah.
That's off the top of my head. So
Does
someone
that
wanna-
sound right, Bob?
Yeah.
So you okay with that? All right, so
Edvin, are you still a second?
Yes, yep, I am.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion?
Matt, I'd like to see it go to the AG's office in Concord and get a full investigation on this.
Yeah. So that, if we're numbering these things, would we want to add that as before the county attorney or after the county attorney?
Send it to the AG's office in Concord.
I'm sorry, Edvin?
Wouldn't it be after the county attorney if we follow kind of the chain of command?
I would think so. The kind of chain of events is usually the county attorney, so. But I like adding it to the motion that, go to the county attorney, and the county attorney is asked, should we be going to the AG? If we have to go to the AG, we go to the AG, so.
Yeah,
Is that
cool with me.
okay with you? Diane's
county attorney, AG, Jackson's and whatever they were.
Lewis, yeah.
Lewis?
Okay.
Lewis.
All right.
All right, so I'm going to call for a vote on this.
You do have one person with their hand up, but it's up to you if you want to.
Yeah, if they want to jump in.
Anthony.
Anthony again?
Yep, sorry, had my hand raised for a bit. So I'd like to maybe, you mentioned empowering people. This is really quite simple. It's a town account, it's town property. The messages are still there, as I mentioned earlier. It's a town Instagram, a town Facebook, a town Twitter.
It's not.
Recover them, enable them.
It's not.
It's a New Hampshire EMD, is not a town account.
Right, we did not open the accounts. The individual opened the accounts and decided to title them as Newton NHEMD.
In the very least, recover the phone in an immediate fashion and do the actual forensic analysis with a local firm.
Yep.
I can recommend people if you need to.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to get some recommendations, so. All right, I'm going to call for a vote. So it's a roll call vote. Edvin?
Aye.
Thank you. Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
The AG in Concord's involved, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's on
Okay,
Second in
I'm an
line.
aye. I'm an aye.
Charlie's an aye, I'm an aye, so that's unanimous. Before we get off this topic, I'm going to make one more motion. And I want people to realize, getting the phone is clearly not an easy thing. It sounds like it's an easy thing, but I think we're going to have a fight on our hands, and people need to understand that it's not that easy. So I'm going to pull up I can't find my, okay, so this is my motion from last week. I'm going to try it again. So Selectman Burl, I'm going to move for the board to sign a letter and send it to the EMD director and his attorney about turning in the phone. So let me clean that up a little bit, Diane. I would move that the board signs a letter and sends it to the EMD director to turn in the phone, which we believe is town property. Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call. Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
No.
No? I'm an aye. So that's 3-1. Okay, so
Matt,
what's that?
subpoena it.
I think we're going to be doing that, Charlie.
Well, why play games? Just subpoena it.
We got to try. All right. Anything else before we leave this topic? All right. So I usually say this when we switch gears. If people need to leave for whatever reason, they should feel free to do so. You won't hurt our feelings. But we thank you for your attention in this matter, and we're moving on to other topics. So let's see if I can find my agenda again. All right, so we're only on C, request to purchase town land 12-1-1. Mr. Ryan Norman, thanks for hanging in there with us. Did you want to talk to the board?
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. It's a tough one to follow.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for taking the time to consider my request. Hopefully you've had a chance to read the letter and the plan that I sent to Diane a couple of weeks ago. I'd be happy to answer any questions and listen to any feedback.
I guess my question, and because obviously people haven't read the letter.
Oh, sure.
I don't know if you want to give a kind of what your goals are with the land and how you
Yeah.
found out about it and stuff. So.
So my family and I, I haven't lived in town for 70 years, but my grandparents have, and my folks, they live in Quaker Grove. I live on Peasley Crossing Road. We've been looking for a large parcel of land to build a new home with an in-law. We found one. We have 27 acres of land under contract on Thornell Road. It's very, very exciting for us. We're looking to build a home with an in-law, and maybe my goal is to have a private road and to subdivide into a few lots for my family. It wouldn't be a for-profit subdivision. It would just be strictly for us. It turns out there's a town-owned parcel of land that this parcel borders on 3 sides that's completely landlocked. It appears to be valueless to the town. There's no tax money coming in on it. Nobody can access it in perpetuity. So I'd love to include it in our parcel.
Any questions from the board?
My concern was if the town was actually using it, being part of the peanut trail there.
It's actually not, it's about, the closest point is about 100 feet from the peanut trail.
Right.
And you'd have to go through somebody's property off of Terra Lane to get there, or through the parcel that I'm purchasing to get there.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if Diane can share anything, but yeah.
What would you like to see?
How about the map that he provided? You know, this is, I've known about this land for a while now, since I've been on the board. It's one of those things we acquired somehow.
Maybe a tax.
Yeah, I think it was tax deeding, and it's not doing anything right now. So that is so people realize we have what do we have, 2 or 3 pieces
We
of
have
property?
several that
We have more
need-
than 2 or 3?
Yeah, that we need to do.
So we do have these things we get from time to time, kind of accidentally, and we can't use them, so.
Matt, I think we ought to, I've had 2 conversations with this individual. He's called me twice, just so that you know. But I do believe that we should at least offer it to any other abutter too as well. Not just say, okay, give it to this one.
Yep.
Because the other abutter might be interested, and that's all. That would be my concern.
Makes sense.
Is there an abutter to that 5-acre
I was just going to ask, is there another abutter?
Yeah, right there.
Property to the right, in between the Peanut Trail and the 5 acres, is owned by a homeowner on Tara Lane.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we wouldn't have to do like kind of a broadcast.
No,
We could
technically,
specifically contact the other
we have the
abutter.
right to sell, buy and sell land as the
Right.
Board of Selectmen, because they
Right.
gave it to us. But
Right.
we should at least offer it to that other individual, just to cover ourselves.
Yeah,
You need to,
Not
you need
yet.
to step up to the microphone.
This was more of a testing the
time
waters
out.
to see if it's
People
possible.
cannot hear you, so you either have to go to the microphone or you can't speak.
so I'll summarize for the last time, but Lisa was asking if we had a monetary offer yet, and Mr. Norman just said he was testing the waters, which I think is fine. So I think what Charlie's talking about is moving on to that next stage.
Yeah.
And putting the offer out directly to the other abutter to see if they are interested. Perhaps they aren't at all.
Yeah, we could send them a letter and ask them if
Yeah.
they're interested in the property, and would they be willing to.
And then in the meantime, you could send us a letter if you like, whatever you think is a fair offer, and then, we'll see what comes of that. It's like selling any other real estate in town. It's a negotiation, right? So.
Sure.
So,
I think Trish may have a question. Step
Trish?
up to the mic.
see, Lisa, Trish comes up to the mic. She goes
She
right
obeys the rules.
See, I learned by you. So, Tricia McCarthy, Conservation Commission. My comment, and Conservation is discussing this next week at our meeting because we only meet once a month, and that's next week. Although you say it has no value to anyone, it does have a value as far as our habitat and animals. And do we go there? Is there a habitat corridor there? Not exactly. But I guess my question to Mr. Norman is it Norman? Mr. Norman? Okay. So I know you're getting the 27 acres plus another 0.97 acres, and now you want this 5 acres. How many houses for the family you're going to build up here?
Do I need to get up?
Yes, yeah.
I mean, that's really to be determined. Ideally, I don't know what the maximum yield would be if we went in as a greedy developer and said we want to put as many houses in here as possible. Ideally, I'd like to have maybe 3 to 5 lots throughout the 33 acres, which I really don't think is an excessive amount for that amount of land. Like I said, I want to.
No, I'm only kidding. Okay.
I like it to be a private road that, my kids and maybe their kids could build on someday that, would be like a legacy property, So that's it.
And one last comment. So we are waiting, Conservation is waiting to hear back from DES just to see if there's any endangered species on that particular lot. I don't know that there is. And again, it's not that we don't want the town to get money for it, but we're just very cautious about how these things are happening. We're developing a corridor up there, and although this isn't part of it, I'd hate to see a whole lot of land cleared, and that's completely going to affect our animals up there. And we'll know more next week at our meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Trish.
So, did you? Hi there.
Hi, I'm Marcella Vincent, and I live on Thornell Road. My concern is, again, the road was resurfaced nicely, and the traffic is really heavy still, The police have been out there, and we appreciate that. Nothing against you. However, building more homes on that property is going to increase the traffic. Whether he does it for his family or whether he down the road decides, I've got this land and now I'm going to divide it up and build more homes other than what he had said. I hope the board will take that into consideration. I've already had it built behind me and still waiting for a house to be built in back of my home. And it's very disconcerting to see how the board acted before and the planning board allowed them to build in don't know what's going to happen with the rest of the land. There's still 50 acres behind that was cut up, and so there could be more houses put in behind us again.
Thank you. The, you know, I think when we talk about asking abutters if they want to buy it, it's one of those things where, because that makes sense, right? That, like, if you're in a butter, you actually have access to it. Why would anybody else want to purchase it, you know, and not have access? So we may want to consider, yes, Mr. Norman's going to send us a letter. We send a letter to the other abutter, but we should be clear, like perhaps an announcement on the website that we're entertaining offers for this piece of land, just in case somebody with a helicopter wants to, you know what I'm saying? Because
nobody can buy it except for the abutters, because it doesn't have a right of way.
If they have a helicopter.
Yeah, and then they still can't.
So this
It's landlocked.
land not of any use to anyone because it's landlocked, this is 5 acres of undeveloped, untouched land for wildlife, birds, insects, trees, etc. If it gets sold to any abutter, not necessarily Mr. Norman and his family, any abutter, then that 5 acres can be developed. It can be cleared. It can be all the trees cut off of it, and all of that wildlife will have to find someplace else to go. I think the town should consider offering it if there is an easement or something else built into the deed in perpetuity where nothing gets built and nothing gets taken off. That's my opinion.
Okay. So I guess what I'm hearing at this point is the board's in favor of continuing the discussion at this point, but we're not deciding anything at this point. So does anybody want to make a motion to? Yeah, go ahead.
So if you do make a motion and it's accepted, would my next step to be to write an offer and send it to the town?
Yeah, I think that's what.
Should be sealed if you've got
Sealed,
two
yeah.
bidding, yeah.
But, so I think, why don't I just make the motion? So I would move to send a letter to the other abutter asking if they wanted to put an offer in for a sealed offer.
I thought we were gonna just post it.
Well,
He's going to post it as well.
hold on, let me finish this one. So a letter to the abutter to see if they want to submit a sealed bid to us, and just to make it official, a letter to Mr. Norman to ask if he wants to make a sealed bid. So, period. Is that a good motion, Diane?
Second.
I think Edvin seconded, so that counts for something. All right, any discussion?
As long as, if we turn around and do this, Matt, we should not put restrictions on it. Meaning that if we sell it to that individual, right, it's his. He can do what he wants. I don't think we should put any restrictions.
I deal with that portion of it when we get to that portion. I think for now, we just want to.
I'm just letting everybody know now.
Yeah, I don't think we're saying we disagree with you, but we really have to consider that part. So,
I think
Lisa?
before the board sends out letters requesting offers for this property, they should decide whether or not they want to sell it.
yeah, well, I think that's what
Depends on the price.
Well, no, because you made a motion to send out letters
Yep.
requesting whether or not they want to submit an offer.
Yep.
They can't submit an offer unless they know whether or not there are any terms or codicils to any offer that they might submit.
Okay. They can still submit
You're
their
going to read
interest.
real estate law?
Yeah.
Good girl.
I'm going to piggyback on Lisa's. You may want to wait first to see if there's any endangered species there, because if there is, nobody's going to be able to do anything with it if they end up buying it from us. It'd be a shame to say, yeah, but you can't build because there's, hokey finoki there or whatever endangered species is there. The salamander, right? Right, thank you. So I almost think you should wait to see if conservation gets any results from DES about endangered species before you decide if you're going to accept offers for something that maybe can't be even touched.
But we can look at offers.
Pardon me?
We can look at an offer.
I'll let you do that.
Yeah, I think, so, Diane, I apologize. So my motion, I want to rescind and restate. So to send a letter to both Mr. Norman and the other abutter asking if they have any interest in putting together an offer for this piece of
There you go,
property.
Matt.
And they can respond to us with whatever detail they want to give us at this point. But we should also mention in the letter that it is going before conservation on X date. I know, I'm.
So why don't, I agree with Trish, and I know I'm not a selectman.
Yeah.
I would suggest you wait until conservation gives you their report.
Yeah, I
You may
agree.
not be able to sell it at all.
You're not
Right.
going to get a good price.
Yeah. I kind of want to just get things moving forward, but if, I'll take my motion off the table, so.
So at least we're entertaining the idea. So if
Exactly.
you want to go ahead and do that on
Wait.
your own, that's up to you.
What date is that, Trish?
Next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow we'll meet.
So you'll know by May 17th,
Yeah,
hopefully.
I would think so. So May 17th, we'll take this up again, I guess, that doesn't stop you but from maybe typing something up and having it ready, so, But anything else for us on this subject?
I've got one. Is there any thoughts to maybe getting a little bit of land from him away from the peanut trail so that they're not building right up to 25 feet?
Yeah, I would think we want to talk
I mean,
about,
it's right on the peanut trail.
yeah.
So I think it should be, bartering maybe.
Yeah.
And that would be totally fine with me, because the whole purpose of this is to be away from people.
Right.
Not have people peering into the
You're gonna
pool in
have
the
people.
backyard and,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And as far as you're concerned over more houses, I don't necessarily want it for yield. I just would like to have it because it fits in nicely, and who knows the positioning of the house, where it would be best to go, and it would be a shame if we had to put it somewhere where it wasn't ideal. So we're not looking at it to add 5 acres to say, well, now we'll get 2 more lots out of it.
Right, right.
We'll all be dead and buried.
That's true. But you have a point, but I'm hoping it'll be in my family then.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so we have no motions, but we have this put on the next
May
agenda.
17th agenda,
Yeah, thank
correct.
you. All right, I'm going to see if we can move along here on some items. Trish. So ARPA EOC update, Trish, are you comfortable giving us that?
Okay. I'll try to bring it fast. Okay. So this is the state and local fiscal recovery funds update, which we call ARPA. So just so that you know, I've got to read this. The U.S. Treasury guidelines are what this committee must follow. According to the federal legislation, we may use these funds to respond to COVID-19, public health emergency, or its negative economic impact. We can use it to respond to workers performing essential work during COVID-19 public health emergency and provide premium pay or stipends to our eligible workers, which are defined as police, fire, EMS, transfer station, highway workers, election workers, lifeguards, and sanitation workers. No elected officials can be paid a stipend. We asked for those of you that are elected officials and always seem to be here helping us. We also can use the funds for revenue loss for the provision of government services. And this includes upgrades, not only in our buildings, but in technology. Excuse me, and for cities that need investments in water, sewer, and broadband technology and infrastructure. It can be used for that. What you need to know, the committee is working on some really important items for our town's infrastructure, buildings, technology, medical equipment, recreation areas, security equipment, portable lighting, which is just to name a few. We will report on these items to the Board of Selectmen as we finalize our research, and at that point, we may request from the Board of Selectmen to go out for bid for some of these things. At this time, the committee is requesting a list of items also because we're kind of all over the place in our research. We would like a list of items that are paid from the government building line items, so that's probably a Nancy or a Kim thing. This will help us towards improving the money spent in this area. We're trying to save money that's being spent. So if we have a list, we bounce things around and we never know, is this a line item in the department or in government buildings? So that's something, if you could work on that and give it to us, that would be great. At this time, the committee is recommending to the Board of Selectmen the following stipends that are being allowed by the state and local fiscal recovery funds to be paid at the next pay period or at the convenience of the bookkeeper. Number one, to all our election workers that worked in 2022, unfortunately, except elected officials. This is election workers, not elected officials. To give them a stipend of $125 per event that they work in 2022. So far we've had one event, and that was in March. Any staff that worked the election through the individual departments are not entitled to that stipend because that would be double dipping. So police, fire, and EMS, and some people that already got paid for being there that day, they are not entitled to a stipend. So you'll probably have to, take these as separate motions, but the second request or recommendation from our committee is to our transfer station workers. And they should be paid under the same guidelines that we were told to use for essential workers, police, fire, EMS, and public safety. For the manager and assistant manager to get a one-time fee in 2022, or a stipend I should call it, for $2,485.71, and for the part-time attendants, a one-time stipend for 2022 of $1,242.80. On a rather sad note, and the Board of Selectmen and our committee, we, without saying names, I don't want to violate any HEPA policies, but we did have a town employee that passed because of COVID. We wanted to see if any stipends could go to the family. It cannot. However, because we researched this, the federal government did have an account set up to pay for out-of-pocket funeral expenses. So that family, you know who you are, and I can also get contact information probably from Nancy. We can guide you as to where maybe you can get a reimbursement, and again, we're really sorry for your loss. That's the ARPA part of the report. Quickly on the EOC part of the report. The committee was very excited. We submitted our first quarterly report on this grant, and it was, oh God, having a baby was easier. No. Don't put that down. It's there. It's okay. It's the truth. So we were allowed to spend money for revenue replacement. We had 3 categories. So we put in and was I shouldn't say approved, but they said this was allowed. For vaccine clinics, both in 2021 and 2022, we put in for $17,069.06. Also on this report was the EOC administration for this grant, both in 2021 and 2022, for up to this ended March 30th. our first quarter report, and that was $4,721.75. And then the last category was an upgrade in technology as allowed through the revenue replacement, and that was $2,799.98. So total spent for the grant so far is $24,590.79, giving us a balance of that grant that we got approved for of $491,319.80. So again, excuse me, we've got a lot of things that the committee's working on. This money is a benefit to our residents. We're spending the money on things that line items in the budgets couldn't have afforded, or if they did, our tax rate would have gone up. So this is really a win-win for everyone. We just have to follow the guidelines that everything we spend has to be affiliated or connected with COVID-19 somehow. And we have till 2026 to spend this money. We have to earmark it, though, by 2024, which is what the committee is working on. And we've got some great ideas on this committee. And then the last thing on the EOC, sorry, I saw you look at your watch. Last thing, on COVID, the last 14 days, we've had 8 new cases of COVID in Newton. Unfortunately, we only have 44.5% of our residents fully vaccinated. That's 2,208 people. So far, though, you figure we've been in COVID now for over 2 years, and we've only had 1,033 residents that actually contracted COVID. And as of April 15th, no new cases in the schools. And their total case count so far has been 43 cases. So I think that's it. I did that fast, right?
You did it well.
Excuse
Thank
me.
you.
Yes.
Trish had brought up at the beginning, so I'd like to do it right now. If Trish would read off those things for the people to get paid.
Right, I was gonna ask, is
Sure.
that part of the manifest, or you're putting this
No,
out?
this will be for the next pay period. We've got to give it to the bookkeeper.
So I think we need to wait until it's on a manifest. Would that make the most sense?
I'm sorry.
It's all right. So she's got some stipends for the next pay period?
Yes.
So I think what Bob wanted to vote on those tonight, but I think we should probably wait until you've had a chance to put them on the next manifest, right?
Well, we could vote on them, approve them, and then put them on the manifest and
Right.
just sign it,
Is
right?
that okay? Okay.
So the list of, just so that you know, the election workers, our town clerk tax collector has emailed me that list. She and I are 99% sure we've got everyone on the list, and we'll double check it, and then we'll send it to Kim. And the transfer station workers was also emailed to me, so there's 4 people involved. I will also give that to Kim.
So it's a one-time stipend?
It's
for
a
the-
one-time this year. We can do it next year if the board decides,
No, we're
but this
just
is,
trying to get the motion first.
oh, yes.
Yeah, if you want to just read them out, we'll,
So,
Okay, so to our election workers, a one-time stipend, our election workers in 2022, $125 per event for anyone that worked elections other than elected officials.
I make that motion.
I thought so.
moved by Bob, seconded by Charlie. Discussion. Edvin?
No, I'm good. I like it. I was gonna second it.
So you're an aye?
Aye.
Yes.
Bob's an aye?
Aye.
Charles an aye, Matt's an aye. Next one?
Okay, so
I
the
make a motion.
okay. He makes the motion.
Whatever Trish says.
For the transfer station workers to be paid under the same guidelines used for essential workers for police, fire, EMS, and public safety, being the manager and assistant manager, a one-time stipend for 2022 of $2,485.71, and part-time attendance, do you want me to continue, or do you want to?
I'll get it on the recording.
And part-time attendance, a one-time stipend for 2022 of $1,242.80.
Second.
Is that per person?
Per
Yes.
person,
Per person.
per year.
Moved by Bob, seconded by Charlie. Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, Charlie, and Matt's an aye, so unanimous.
Is that
And
the
for
only-
anyone who wants to know where those figures came from, they came from the state when we gave the stipends back in 2020, I think it was. So we didn't, randomly pick these out of the air. That's where the stipends came from.
Thank you, Trish.
Kim?
Thank you.
Could you define election workers? Does that include the folks that set up and take down the voting booths?
Can't double dip.
Not if they were already paid.
Working the election?
No, but they.
But if they
they're
were
already
paid
getting
under
a
their
stipend.
department, they can't be paid, let me back up.
They were not paid under their department?
Okay, so yes, except the election officials, elected officials, yes. So like the transfer station people that set up, you mean, or whoever, they would be entitled to that.
They can double dip. They can get the one for the transfer station, and then they can get the one.
Oh, no, that's two separate things.
That's what she's asking.
No, it's two separate motions. One is for stipends for the transfer station. The other is a
Right.
stipend from election, who works election.
Right, but the people that work at the transfer station are the ones that work doing the campaign,
So the setup and breakdown,
the setup and breakdown.
technically they could double dip, right? I don't think we want that.
And let me back up. One of the things that the state said is that these are people these people that deserve this are the people that were on one-on-one contact with people that could have COVID, which is what election officials were defined as. Maybe not necessarily the people coming in at the fire station with no other people of the public there. So I'd have to get clarification. I have a feeling they're not qualified for that.
Okay, so I would add just to the note that we'll get clarification later, but it's not our intention right now to pay them
Yeah.
twice. So.
Yeah, they were pretty clear about election workers who can't do their job at elections at home. It's because they came to work the elections, so they are considered essential workers because without them we couldn't have had voting. Whereas the people that did the setup were not meeting the public. They were there on their own time, like Charlie said.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, that was everybody, right?
Yep.
Okay, we voted. Thank you.
Thanks, Trish.
So we have E, request for update on plans for additional storage of town records. It's Joe just asking what the update was, right, Joe?
Yes, good evening, yes. Just like an update, the last time we spoke about this was April 5th, and I'd just like to know what the progress is so far, because the fact still remains that we need outside storage, so even though there might be some committee meetings, there still should be some work done to secure outside storage. And over this past 3 or 4 weeks and talking to a bunch of people, I think the best option is to secure outside climate control storage. So where do we stand?
Cool. Our records coordinator is standing behind you.
Excuse me?
Right, Mary Jo has the update for you.
Okay, on my end, the day after you guys had the meeting to decide to figure out what to do with the records that we had, I did reach out to the people that should be sitting on the record board committee. I have heard back from one person. Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
So far, me, Matt, Tony. Tentative date for this meeting, our first meeting, is May 16th. That's a Monday, it's 5 o'clock. I'm still gonna try to rein in the other 2, maybe 3 people. And if they don't show, the 3 of us will have a meeting and decide what to do. All we need is a couple of people to figure this out. Mr. Doggett is going to sit in on our meeting. He has attended some either seminars or webinars regarding record retention and right to know, and he will have some packets with him to give to whoever attends this meeting. If anybody is interested, the people that's supposed to sit on this board are a town clerk, a tax collector, an assessor, a treasurer, and a representative from the Board of Selectmen.
The one question I have, would it be wise for each of the departments to go through those records?
Well, that's what this meeting will be. They will be given, and I've given this out several times. 33A will state what records need to be kept for how long. The last time we met, every person, because those are basically the departments.
Right.
Assessing, treasurer, my office, tax collector. They are given the list of what needs to be retained. They know what it is. So they're going to take that list, they're going to figure out what is theirs, and then they can go through their own things to see what they
Well, see,
have.
that's what the point I'm getting to is because if they go through these records, we could find that a lot of these records that are sitting there collecting dust
Oh, absolutely.
could be gone, and we might not
Absolutely.
have to pay the money and be putting these.
Well, yeah,
in
that's
a-
why
in a
we're going to be
spot.
meeting to do this. That's the point of having
Right.
this meeting. But we have to meet and determine first,
Right.
because you just can't take the records and toss them.
Right.
Even if you were, say, you were in the treasurer's office and you're the treasurer and you're looking through and, oh, I can get rid of this, take it all in the trash.
No.
You come to the board, the record board, and say, I have X, Y, and Z. Retention schedule is complete. I want to destroy it. We vote, yes, you can destroy it. So you meet like once a year, but we need to get it rolling first so each department can have their list and they can figure out what they have. Come back a month later and say, okay, this is what we have, this is what we can get rid of.
That's what I'm saying. So it does, for me, it doesn't make sense to take these things, move them somewhere.
You do move them, yeah.
Right,
no.
and then move them back to go through them.
No.
So that's what I'm saying, Joe,
No,
is
that-
that's what,
Yeah, that was the
Right.
point of the last meeting.
Exactly.
Was to meet, figure it out. It's going to take a while to figure out.
Right.
But in the meanwhile, because we're still going to need storage, that should be moving forward. Somebody should be moving forward, figuring out where we're going to store, how we're going to store, because there will be needs. So while...
I'm sorry, Mary Jo. Oh.
Edvin, go ahead.
Hi, Ed.
Hey, Joe or Mary Jo. So one thing I looked into since our last meeting, what about those climate-controlled storage containers? Is that something we kind of looked into as a town?
You could.
I mean, so the prices I kind of got just from websites, I wanted to bring it up to you and Matt. It's like $15,000 for, I think it was like a 20-foot climate-controlled container. And that'd be something where we could kind of put it, we can find different locations to put it instead of building out and things like that. So just something to kind of think of.
So we purchase our own climate-controlled container and put it somewhere.
Yes, I mean, is that something you think that maybe would be
That's a possibility. Again, once we determine what we have, I mean, and at a meeting, we can just throw together, what can we do? Do we rent a storage? Do we buy our own storage? Do we fix the Butler building? What do we do? That's not on me. I'm only trying to get the records together. So I'm just suggesting.
Just wanted to put it out there, just something that I looked into.
It's not a bad idea. I guess it can be done.
So I
On the,
I guess what I'd like to do is after we meet on May 16th, I'm probably going to take the action item to come back to this board and say, all right, board, now here's what we're going to do. I think it's going to be an RFP probably to go out to some of these places. I mean, we're going to have to go find the people to answer the RFP, but I think that's what I'd like to discuss at the May 16th meeting and then bring back to the board. So that's just my position.
Okay, so that's where we are. Would you like to sit in?
We have seats available. They're going fast, but
So, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Nancy?
I'm not so sure all the department heads are going to know exactly what they have at May 16th meeting.
No, it's not that.
Not the May 16th meeting.
Okay.
No, the May 16th meeting is me, Matt, and hopefully the rest of the people that are supposed to be on this board. They can take their paperwork, they can go through it, they can discuss it. We can kick around a couple of ideas and then decide when to meet again and come back, and hopefully they'll know what they're getting rid of, how much they have. It's gonna take a long time.
The train is really long.
It will take a
And-
very long time for each department to figure
Right.
out what they need. It's gonna take me almost a year to go through my things. I can imagine how long it's gonna take Kim to go through hers, Nancy to go through hers.
Well, I've got a
Well-
stack like this, and I'm leaving in 2 months.
Nancy's got a specific end date, so.
Okay, just wanted to be clear on that.
Yeah, and also, like, if there are any questions that other departments have, like, you had questions. I have employee records of employees that have kept so long, but now they're dead, do I still keep them? These are things we don't know. We have to ask the archivist up in Concord. His name is Brian. So if you got questions, get questions to us, and we can get the questions answered. Because some of these things, well, I'm not sure, it might be on the list, it might be questionable.
Well, I know
List is vague.
the employees' files are on the list for 20 years.
20 years.
And
But if
I've
someone's
got
dead,
a,
why would you keep it?
well, yeah, that was one of my questions.
Right, so, questions that we need to.
So basically, all right, we can discuss it
We
later.
need to buy a good paper shredder.
Yeah, I think basically what's going to happen after this meeting is we'll have minutes of the meeting, which will likely be emailed out to department heads saying, this is what we determined we need your help with at this meeting. More to come, but, respond to us with X, Y, and Z,
Just like to say that I'm glad that the board has taken the initiative to do this, and for those department heads that did not respond to Mary Jo's inquiry, I think it's incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen to contact those people and say, you will be there because this is something that affects the town, and if you're not there, then someone else has to shoulder your responsibility. So I'm glad to see you taking the initiative to do that, and hopefully we can move this forward.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll get them there. They'll be there. Mary Jo is quite persuasive, so. So, thank you on that one. So F is the capital improvement plan update, which I think is our weekly or monthly.
Yep.
Do we have any information from that committee telling us who is still in need of a response?
I believe the only one that's responded that I know of is the cemetery trustees.
And you, right?
Well, I don't think so.
No?
I don't know what what the board wants to say for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess what,
Town hall.
and I had talked to Annie a couple of weeks ago that, and she might have forgotten, but like what we should do is before the meeting, just send an email to her, Diane, and say, has anybody responded to you? Who has not? And then in this meeting, we can kind of, as a board, read the list and then kind of divide and conquer and knock on their doors, So perhaps for the next meeting, you can just reach out to her and see who she, because you sent out a reminder of a reminder of a reminder, right?
Yeah.
So, so there's, the personal touch is all that's left, I think.
So what do you want to do about the town hall?
I'd like to keep it.
Okay.
But somebody send me an email, but I'll write that one. I'm going to reach out to people, but I'll write it.
So, I mean, this is the capital improvement plan. Are you thinking you're going to just put in to redo the entire town hall, a new town hall?
No, I mean, maybe, but I'm going to start writing it, and I'm going to reach out to people for their inputs, I think is what I'm going to have to do.
So a recommendation would be to use that list that we have?
Yeah, start with that.
That we have for the town hall, that you can say, these are the things we need now?
Yeah. But I think, and this leads into item number K, I think it's going to end up being more of a strategic approach to it, maybe with an architect or something.
Okay.
Basically, talking about the capital improvement plan, and each department essentially has to put in their kind of plan, right? We're not saying we're doing it, but this is what we need to focus on. So we, as the Board of Selectmen, have to do the one for Town Hall. So,
Yeah, I told Annie, I tried to pull up the papers on that. She's supposed to get me copies of that so that I could get that printed up and put in.
that's what I'd like to do. I mean, it could be 20 years from now when we build it, but you gotta get the ball rolling.
Exactly, that's what I wanna do, get it up, get it in, put it in how she had it laid out for the funding, this, that, and where we are for an urgency on it.
Yep. All right, cool, so we'll keep that statusing. All right, G, update on buildings at Marshal Property, anything?
No, we didn't get the insurance adjuster came a couple of weeks ago, but we have not heard back from him.
Okay, so we'll have this on the next one.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
And Bob was going to walk, did we say we were going to ask Bob to kind of?
We did ask him. I don't know if he's done anything. You talked to him
No,
a
we
little
were just
bit.
waiting for the insurance adjuster first to see.
First, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll wait on that. H, review facilities maintenance technician job description. I think Diane had, oh, do you have something?
No, I just want to make a comment about that.
Yeah.
Just so that you
what?
know. Huh?
Which one?
On the maintenance technician and job description? No,
Are you
I want it-
applying
no,
for
I'm
the
only
job?
kidding. No.
Because you're hired, if you
In the
are.
job description, I'm just saying, if you please make sure you put something about disinfecting and sanitation, we can cover that portion of the job.
Wow, okay.
COVID. So just, I know Nancy and I tried to pay attention when Tony was doing it, but at least for the next 4 more years or so till 2026, we can cover anything to do with COVID-19 for a janitor's job. It's considered an essential worker.
Oh, cool. Thank you. And I think where this is coming into play, Diane, is you made some suggestions to make this perhaps more marketable.
Correct.
So did anybody have any input to Diane's markup?
I did. I told her everything looked good except for this. There was still some things needed, and Trish touched on it, that big paragraph that you had in red, Diane. I said most of that had to go, but a few things still needed to be there, and probably like what Trish just talked about, we could keep in there.
So the question, my suggestion was that you keep the cleaning person that you have now,
Yep.
and then that's why you would remove that section, that red section there.
Right.
And the cleaning person will keep doing whatever they're doing. Now, if we want to see if he will do disinfecting, then maybe we could get that part covered.
So to me, Trish, that actually sounds like a better approach, right? Because we would have invoices from the cleaner that they could cut out. We did disinfecting.
Right.
So.
And even things like filling the touchless things, making sure we've got wipes here. I mean, that's all part of the sanitation disinfectant category that COVID will cover. Right. And if Nancy or Diane have to order any supplies for him to do with disinfecting and that type of thing, that would be covered as well, to do with COVID.
So I would recommend we ask the contractor if they're able to do disinfecting and if they can kind of break that out on our bill.
Yeah, all right, I'll ask him.
Because they're not going to do it that often, right? I don't think. But in a nutshell, your edit here to the posting is to create a new posting for a portion of the job, I guess, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
What's the board think about that? So ideally, you'd maybe be able to get somebody.
I gotta stay out of that, it's my relative.
Oh, okay. That's right. You said that before. So essentially, where it's been tough to find somebody to work that many hours, we could potentially find somebody to work that portion of the hours.
Right.
so anything in red, like cleaning windows, glass doors, daily trash removal, restocking, cleaning restrooms, sweeping, mopping, vacuum cleaning, disinfecting tables, counter cleaning, and all of that, we would get rid of because we would use the cleaner that we have now. We would add, anything in green we were adding, maintain town hall, outside signboard, maintain exterior property, meaning sweeping walkways, picking up trash, snow removal. Assist with all equipment installs and removals such as installing the AC window units. So those would be additional. At one point, there was an on-call maintenance for all facilities 24/7. We cannot afford to pay someone to be on call 24/7, 365. I would just strike that out of there. Because what I did put on there and towards the top is to perform emergency cleaning and other tasks as assigned.
So would the board be in favor of making these edits and trying to post this one? What's
I would.
everybody think?
I'd make a motion to do that.
So Bob's motion is to
edit,
accept the edits and
accept
post
edits
as-
that Diane did.
Okay,
I can second that, Matt.
and you are seconding?
Yep.
Edvin, any thoughts? All right, he might be.
Sleeping.
No, I don't think he is. All right.
Do you
Bob,
have before you go off on that,
Yep.
do you have an idea, 25 hours a week, you're good with that, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
Up to.
Up to 25 hours a week, yep. Okay.
Aye.
Joe, and I'm an aye. So if Edvin comes back, we can.
Yeah, he must be asleep.
I didn't say that.
So I'll
an
put,
aye.
there he is.
there
Woke
he
up.
Aye,
Shamed him.
Yep.
whatever works. Okay, I is an IT upgrade on the security platform. Diane, I take it this is you?
So what this is the current antivirus software that we are using is going end of life. So our IT provider has suggested a Microsoft Windows Defender to replace it. And that would be for like the town hall, Selectmen's PC. The only thing it wouldn't include would be the police. For the police, they recommend a different brand. It's called Sentinel One, and because that brings them into federal compliance to use that particular software.
So, anybody have any questions on this one?
Nope.
And this would come out of the,
Yes, this will come out of the cable revolving fund.
yep.
Is there any public discussion?
So the question becomes, do you want to pay this as a annual fee or monthly? Annual fee, you will save $771.
Anthony has his hand up.
Anthony's asking. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, sorry. Is there public discussion on this as well?
Yeah, you can chime in.
So I mean, I would just advise Windows Defender is not an adequate solution for endpoint antivirus or endpoint detection and response. So the recommendation coming from your MSP is kind of off base. As far as Sentinel One, it's a larger brand. Again, it's actually, I'm not sure on the federal compliance piece, but to the best of my memory, they weren't FedRAMP certified or anything like that. So I'm not sure why it's being recommended, but I would look into doing some competitive analysis and actual due diligence on the solution.
So are you doing this for us?
Sure, I'll volunteer to do that.
All right.
So do we have like kind of a hard deadline where we need to make this happen?
No, we do not. Not at
So-
this time. I'm not
so-
sure when it goes end of life.
So we do have some time to do a little more research. Okay. So Anthony, if you could provide your contact information to Diane, she would probably just like to chat with you.
Diane,
Thank you.
I got a question, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Which numbers are we working on, Diane? I'm looking at 661720, and then I'm looking on this other sheet, 9237, and then 8465.
So,
I understand these two, but I don't understand these two and that one.
so I did a comparison for you.
Right, I understand that.
So if you go with if you look at the, let me just bring it up here. So if you look at the proposal, they gave you paying monthly, and then
Right.
they gave you the
An
same.
annual.
And annually. So I just put them in a spreadsheet.
Okay, but on this one over here,
What's this one over here?
the front page, where it says I'm on, this one here?
Yes, okay, yep.
Okay, it's saying $66,1720 for a price.
Right.
I can understand them other two, I don't have a problem with that, but I was wondering why them two were together and this one is kind of like separate, and it's from the same company?
Yeah, it's the same company. All I did was take their numbers and separated them out. So they gave you a plan if you paid monthly,
Yeah.
which is more expensive than if you paid yearly.
Right.
So they added in I think the monthly costs for that one. Yeah. I believe that's what they did.
Well,
And-
just out of curiosity, if we hired them, right, which one would we be paying? Would we be paying the 66?
You would be paying the yearly costs.
Oh,
would be-
82.
If you go for the annual payment, you would pay $5,875.20 a year for the antivirus for 21 machines for the police, 28 machines for the town that has the antivirus, and then the Defender for Office 365 Plan 2, which covers your email accounts. And then you have, we have 5 servers in the town, and that was $312 for a year. There's a one-time charge of a installation fee, to setup fee, which is $25.90.
I'm still missing you a little bit here.
So we can talk more offline. We're not going to decide tonight, it sounds like.
I'll go
so-
back and check my numbers again, Charlie.
Cool.
Maybe there's a mistake in them.
Thank you. So I'm going to move off of that item and go to J, quote, Municipal Resource Incorporated for Town Administrator. So last, I alluded to this earlier. So 2 weeks ago, Nancy announced her retirement, which the last day will be June 30th. We're all aware we have it'll be quite a project trying to replace her. So the board got together last week, and there's an outfit called Municipal Resource Incorporated, who the town has used before. Many towns have used them before to help us recruit a town administrator. So they would be able to provide their guidance in terms of writing the proper job description with the the numbers to help make sure we offer a competitive rate, to collect resumes through their database, and also help us with the advertising through other sources, and then help us review resumes. It was thrown out there by the board members at some point. We'd perhaps like to have a citizens committee or a residents committee to help us go through some of the resumes, and then in the end, the Board of Selectmen would be interviewing the last few. This all takes a lot of effort, and MRI is somebody who can do that for us. They could partner with us. So the board had talked about last week about getting at least a quote to move forward with MRI. And I'm wondering if the board had any thoughts. We do have a proposal that they provided me this week.
Yep, so I make a recommendation that we hire MRI to find our next candidate.
You need more than that, Bob. We need some dollar amounts so we know.
If you look at that first paragraph, they have a not to exceed amount
Yep.
Where is it?
right there if you want to read it.
All right, so the package was a total of not to exceed $5,000.
For the assistance packages, recruitment assistance package
Right.
is what it's called. Anybody want to
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. The only thing I think we need to add is where the funds are going to come out of. Typically, when we've worked with MRI before on recruitment, where have we taken that out of? Have we taken it out of the town administrator payroll line item? Well, if if it was that easy.
Kim is recommending legal.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kim's
Kim's not here.
Oh, she's not here.
Bookkeeper is recommending
So
probably
I think
legal.
we've used it from legal before, so I don't know if you want to add that to your motion to take it out of the legal
All
budget.
right, yeah, we'll add that to take it out of legal.
All right, still a second?
Still a second.
All right, roll call. Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And Matt's an aye. If the board's agreeable, I'd like to try to schedule a meeting early next week with MRI to discuss what we do next, but we'll be able to let them know we are engaging their services, and they are available.
Will you reach out to them, Matt?
I will, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Cool. Moving on to K, review 2020 Selectmen goals. When last we met, we kind of shot out a bunch of ideas for goals. And what I did, and Diane, I think, forwarded to you, is I took all the ideas and I tried to encompass them in 4 bullet points. And so that should be in front of you. So I put a note, board should consider assigning a selectman to each goal that would report back to the board regularly on how completion is going. So the first bullet would be to take the budget workshop when offered, but I think that should be assigned to all board members.
That's a given.
Yeah. And then 2, I had develop a strategy for the future of town buildings. So that kind of
The CIP.
goes right into the CIP. Third one is host quarterly meetings with department heads and the selectmen. So the idea is you have 2 selectmen at these department head meetings that can report back to the full board, and it doesn't have to be necessarily a quorum with all that. We could do that if we wanted to, but I think the department heads would appreciate if we did something during the day for those. So, but whoever takes on this one would be able to write the book on how we're doing it and bring it back to the board. And the last one I had was reach out to residents and ask them what they want / regular informal meetings where residents can speak to the board. I almost envision that as like an amplified office hours type situation where, you know, whatever it is, every 2 months, every quarter, we can have a kind of no agenda meeting. People come in and the board is here. So one of us, doesn't have to be the chair, could run that, make sure that's scheduled. And anybody have any thoughts on how I broke up the goals?
I like it, and I mean, I'll recommend myself for either of those last 2, whoever doesn't want to do one.
Anybody else? Joe's coming up.
Hello again. Yeah, I like the idea that you guys have finally put that together. I think it's a good start. We just have to see it through now and let's not let it fall through the cracks.
Yeah, exactly.
But good recommendation would be you could have a round table at the hen house. I'm sure you get a lot of people. But there's another thing that I mentioned at that meeting. You probably should incorporate that incorporate it somehow about change of culture. We need to change our culture. We can't be operating as we were 20 years ago or 10 years ago. We need to get into the 22nd century with everything. Thought process, technology.
I can barely hear you.
Oh, excuse me, I'm losing my voice. But I guess I'm saying we need to, the culture part of it that I talked about a few weeks ago, we need to do that because we can no longer operate in the 1990s. This is the 2020s. We need to bring everything up to speed because we're getting left behind. And I think Mike Pavero mentioned something the last meeting about the need to increase our budgets. I think something like that is going to have to be incorporated because I think what we're seeing over the years with our 1% holding line budgets is everything's fallen down around us. And I'm not trying to pontificate, but we've got issues at the police station, we have issues at the library, we have issues in this building. We need to start in the transfer station. We need to start focusing and bringing those things up to speed for everybody's sake. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, I think we agree with you. It's a culture change for probably all of these things. It's hard to make culture change like one goal because, you know, but it incorporates into all of them, you know.
Well, modernization, I think, is kind of where Joe wants to see it, and
Yeah.
I completely agree with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, anybody else have any thoughts on these? Any they want to attach their name to? Drop my microphone.
Quarter of the year's already gone by, guys,
I
come on.
know, exactly, that's gonna be tough.
The, I mean, I'll take,
Oh, sorry.
take on the informal town meetings with the residents.
All right, so it sounds like Bob has put his name next to the last one. You have that, Diane?
Yep.
And Edvin, did you say you wanted to do the second to last one?
Yeah, that was me with the department heads during the day, correct?
Okay. And the second one is develop a strategy for the future of town buildings. Any interest, Charlie?
Well, yeah. But I lost what I wanted.
Which one did you want?
No, I lost what I wanted.
What was that?
I wanted to, in the ARPA funds, I wanted to turn around and spend the money to put in a new building at the transfer station with a bathroom and a well.
How did you lose that?
Because it's not on their agenda.
Whose agenda?
ARPA's, the committee,
Well, did you challenge it at all?
every meeting, but I missed the last one. 'Cause I
Okay.
had to be in Concord.
Because I haven't heard
I haven't either.
that either. I mean, this is the first I've heard that.
Trish, would you get up?
That's still on our list. That's not out.
I've been told it was whitewashed.
Well, I don't know by who. The U.S. Treasury says that is considered an upgrade. We have to give them ideas of what we're going to do, but it hasn't been axed out.
Oh, okay.
It's still on our
And
committee to
that's
discuss.
That's the one I'll take.
Okay.
Take the second one on here?
Yeah.
So the overall strategy?
Yeah.
Which I think feeds into your duties on the
Yeah.
ARPA committee.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. So you get that, Diane?
Charlie's going to do the...
Number 2.
Develop
Number 2.
a strategy for future of town buildings.
Yeah, and we all have number 1.
Yep.
What's yours?
No, I don't have one.
What does modernize the town mean?
Well, I took that off, I think, because it's such a general thing, but I think
I noticed
Joe,
you went over it.
well, Joe kind of hit it on the head, like, there are certain themes we should have with everything, and as we sit here tonight, we don't have to solve it, but I mean,
Right.
modernization, like Mary Jo just stood up and talked about records, like modernization needs to be part of that, right? Because we can't store them the way we used to do that. You know, Diane's talking about a security upgrade. We need to make sure that's a modern upgrade. You know, it might, when we talk about the buildings, right, we don't want to just kind of put good money after bad, modernize. And
Right.
so
Okay. That
we
makes
should make
sense.
bumper stickers, pins, or whatever, say, hey, we're going to get modern. So
Culturally going to modernize this
Bob's going to
town.
make a motion for $1,000 for bumper stickers, I think. All right, moving off of that, we're on to other business. Joe's coming up. And I know Trish has something for us, right? Yeah.
Hello again, nothing bad. I just wanted to say, in light of some of the discussion tonight having to do with telephones and internets and stuff like that, I think maybe it'd be a good idea to reiterate the town policies on that to all the town employees, just so everyone is aware of it and it's fresh in their mind.
So I'm going to make a very sad statement and say, I do not believe there is an official policy. Well, I mean, not an extensive policy. In other words,
That's why Joe said revisit.
yeah, because I'll tell you right now, I'm in not to relitigate what we did for an hour and a half at the beginning of the meeting, but I'm one of these guys. I carry 2 phones in my pocket. One's a personal phone, one's a work phone. If somebody from work ever walked up to me and said, "We need your phone," I'd be like, "Here you go." When I was issued that phone, I had to sign something that said everything I could do and could not do with that phone. We need something like that,
Yep,
quite frankly, so.
with all town accounts.
Exactly, and we need to get our hands around all of them. If for no other reason, then we might save money if we're all in one account, you know, so.
So again, I'm sorry to be up here again. So this is really quick under other business. If you got your Carriagetown news today, you'll see on the front page, Conservation made it to the front page. We are looking for help on our bush cleanup day, which is marked May 15th, 10 to 1. We're going to be looking for as many volunteers as we can get. Please come to the parking lot on Route 108 at the entrance to the Bush Farm. We've got a lot of things that we're working on. We've got some great people, abutters, that have said they'll pitch in and help us. I have talked to the road agent. He said he'll see what he can do to help us. We're going to be removing trash, debris, clean up the parking area. We're going to be cutting back vegetation for emergency vehicles. We're getting rid of the Japanese knotweed. We're going to cut it to the ground. We'll talk to the fire department or the road agent to see about an easy way to get rid of it. We've got some vegetation, invasive vegetation, that actually we're told if we cut it down and we can get it to the Stoneham Zoo, the giraffes will eat it, but who knows? I don't know about that. We're going to put up signs for main loop trails. We're going to establish the trails. Signs are going to say stay on the trail. We have some that say trails closed. We're going to try to fix the mud runs that are there. We've got a lot of wetlands damage. We're going to mark trails for walking, for ATVs or OHRVs, as well as for horses. We are looking for things we're going to have to buy, so we realize this, but we're looking for contractor grade trash bags. We're going to need pallets for bricks. If we have to buy these, we'll buy them. Obviously, garden loppers for cutting the knotweed and the roadside vegetation. Gloves. We're going to provide drinking water for everyone that comes to volunteer. We've got spray paint that we're going to be marking off. We're going to install 4-foot high stakes around our meadow that used to be our wildlife flowers area, and it's completely damaged, and the turtles are now having problems having their babies. So we're going to deal with that. But anyone that could help us, if you could email conservation@newtonnh.net, that would be wonderful. Or you can come to our conservation meeting next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. That would be awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Joe, did you have something else for us?
Yes. I was just thinking about telephones and computers. Do we have an accurate inventory of who has them and how many we have?
I'm doing an email. I haven't got it out yet.
Oh, okay, very good,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's on my
Okay.
list.
Yeah, that way we know what's out there.
Right.
Well, you
Part of your list, Nancy, could you reach out to Primex and see what they would recommend for a policy?
Okay.
In other words, a kind of a robust policy, right? Before, like I talked about, when a phone's issued, is there a thing somebody can read so they know exactly what's allowed and what's not allowed?
And then they gotta sign off on it.
With an expectation that if we come to collect this phone, it's,
They give it up.
yeah. So we're moving on to manifests, and before we do the manifests, and I apologize, I'm doing this now, but it's kind of half forgotten, is we do have an employee on paid administrative leave. I think people are aware. And he reached out to us, and then his attorney reached out to us about additional pay for the bookkeeper prepared us a memo to detail what pay that is. I'm going to read a sentence. It says, as a follow-up, this is from the bookkeeper, as a follow-up to my memo dated April 25th, I'd like to confirm that as of March 30th, 2022 through April 23rd, 2022, and the next pay period is next week, right? Yep. The most current payroll processed for this individual has been paid in full per the board's decision on March 21st, 2022. And somebody can look at the minutes if they want to see that, but this individual submitted additional unpaid timesheets concerning hours he expects to be paid for a March 13th COVID vaccine clinic and a March 23rd State of New Hampshire Radiological Emergency Preparedness Quarterly Meeting. My only question to the board is, how do we want to respond to this? Do we want to respond by cutting more checks, or are we responding that the letters that this individual were given that explained what was going to be paid and what was not going to be paid is still our position? Anybody have any thoughts?
I'd say pay him. We're going to pay him now, we're going to pay him later.
Okay. Bob, any thoughts?
I'd hate to pay him. And it was said in a thing that the money's not even supposed to come from the town. It's supposed to come from those other accounts.
Yeah, that's, and by the way, just a quick tally on the amount, and just so everybody's aware, this is public information. It's in the town report, or will be in the town report, but it tallies to approximately $600. And it would, as Bob said, it would come out of ARPA funds, I think.
Yeah.
Is it all ARPA funds? One's ARPA and one's another one? Seabrook.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Edvin, any thoughts?
I mean, I think we pay the individual as just to kind of proceed with this investigation and all.
Yeah. Anybody want to make a motion?
Better make it really clear for the bookkeeper.
Oh, yes. Yep. All right, I'll make the motion. I'm going to do it. I move to proceed with payment on the March 13th COVID vaccination clinic and the March 23rd State of New Hampshire Radiological Emergency Preparedness Quarterly Meeting and the April 6th State of New Hampshire REP. What's that?
That's the Seabrook.
Drill, Seabrook drill.
Yep.
As described in the bookkeeper's memo of May 2nd, 2022. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. So under discussion, I would like to say, and this is just my opinion, I'm going to vote yes on this, and it's killing me to vote yes. I'll just say that.
You want me to say that?
I would like you to say that in the minutes.
Okay,
that
killing you
I'm
to
going to vote yes.
on yes. Voting yes,
Yep.
okay.
And
But I think there's a larger, Edvin probably described it well. There's a larger thing here to consider in terms of furtherance of the investigation and what we need to do. So,
And I get that and understand that, and that's the way I feel, especially where payment has already been made all along.
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not like wasn't getting paid.
Yep.
So,
All right, so I have to do a roll call vote. So Edvin,
Aye.
Bob,
aye.
Charlie,
Aye.
and Matt's an aye. So I would like to add to where I colorfully said it's killing me, I would like to add, but I feel at this moment it's in the best interest of the town, which is all it's about for me. So manifest, anybody want to do those?
I move to pay manifest to the vendor dated May 3rd, 2022 in the amount of $799,091.71, of which $731,037 to go towards the Sanborn School District, May 2022 payment, and $28.19 towards Joseph A. Simone Jr. for reimbursement of ARPA committee supplies.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And I'm an aye.
I make a motion to sign the cable vendor manifest and pay it dated May 3rd, 2022 in the amount of $1,369.91.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Roll call, Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And Matt's an aye. One more.
I
right?
make a motion to move and sign payroll manifest for pay period April 10th to the 23rd, 2022, with the pay date of April 28th, 2022. The total payroll is to be $47,942.57, which includes $602.91 of the ARPA administrative costs.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Roll call, Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
Aye.
And Matt's an aye. And I think, so we have a requisition.
Yep. I move to sign the requisition number 1036 for the fire department for 2 grippy floor mats with logo for the fire station in the amount of $520.92. Funds to come from the general government building budget.
Anybody want to second that?
Hang on 1 second. So, okay, you're probably reading an old one. So it's for 4 grippy floor mats with the logo and 1 grippy floor mat without a logo. Okay, for the same amount of money, just so, all right. So you'll take my amendment?
I thought it was the 2 were for that one amount.
No, it's for five different mats. You just have the wrong one, the wrong version. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You'll take the motion, okay.
And I ask this sometimes, I'll second for discussion. I often wonder why we have these to vote on, but I don't know.
Because it's coming out of the government, general government building budget,
Budget.
Not out of
and
his
it's not
budget.
coming out of his, which
Oh,
is,
that's right, yeah, why is it coming out of the general government?
that's what the bookkeeper would like to know too.
Okay, good. I appreciate you pointing that out because that was lost on me. So,
These things keep popping up.
I
that
know,
we
yeah,
didn't
I don't
budget for.
understand.
I
Wouldn't
know.
grippy floor mats with a fire department logo be specific to the fire department?
Yes. But he didn't budget for them.
Okay.
But
So,
neither did we in the general government.
Right.
so do you want to change your motion at all to change where the money's coming out of?
So the reason he's taking it out of general government buildings is because the mats were kind of a lot of wear and tear during election season.
Oh, please. Come on.
Well, I was gonna just put the nomination in and vote no for it, and then he's gotta go
Nancy,
to
with
his
all due
own
respect,
fund to
mats are
buy
part
them.
of the building, correct?
Yeah, I was just trying to cut to the chase and say, if he wants to do it, he can.
All right, so I revoke my,
You're rescinding your motion?
yes, rescind it. And if he wants them bad enough, he can take them out of his own budget.
Okay. So,
So-
anybody else want to make this motion or a variation of the motion?
Motion to approve the requisition. I don't have it in front of me, and to take it out of the general government building funds.
Okay.
Take it out of
Somebody want
where?
a second?
Take it out of where?
General government and buildings.
What about the capital reserve money he has?
That's his motion. Anybody want a second Edvin's motion?
What's the rationale for not,
I'll second for discussion. Would you?
what's the rationale for not taking out of general building?
We don't have the money, and he doesn't in his budget. So it's another purchase that none of us budgeted for.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's why I said the capital reserve.
yeah. So,
I mean, if we can change mine to capital reserve fund.
is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Okay. So, did you get that? He's changing it to the capital reserve fund.
Which one? You can't, the capital reserve, you have like
But-
several of them. Which
The
one?
one that they got the 300,000 last year.
Yeah.
The town buildings capital reserve fund.
That's it, yes.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm at 9:52. I'm going to be controversial. My belief is if you're going to take it out of those building funds, it needs to be something building specific that would stay with the building. So if, hypothetically, the fire department moved out of the building, it would be something that would stay with the building that they would use. So I'm going to vote no on this because it has the logo on it. If you want just all black and it stays with the building, it sounds good to me. But I'll call for a vote anyway. Edvin?
Aye.
Bob?
No.
No.
No, and I'm a no.
So the
Anybody-
motion passed, failed.
Failed, yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody want to make I'll make the motion. Move to sign. Actually, I'll do this. Just, why doesn't the chief come back and discuss this with us when he's back from vacation? So, all right. So I think that was it for manifests. Now we're on in requisitions. Now we're on to minutes. Anybody want to make motions to approve minutes as listed?
I'll make a motion to accept the non-public and public meeting minutes dated April 19th, 2022 as written.
Anybody want a second? All right, I'll second. Roll call vote. Edvin? Might have lost him. Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
No.
I'm an aye.
Edvin's an aye. Matt's an aye.
I make a, all set?
Next one? Yeah.
I make a motion to accept the public meetings dated April 26, 2022 as written.
Second.
Seconded by Edvin. Any discussion?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
These are public minutes for April 26, 2022. This meeting was not posted. It was posted as a non-public. This says public. You've got minutes. I want to know why you went from non-public to public.
Yeah, in order to have a non-public, you need a public, right? Because you have to kick it off in public, and we never went into non-public.
Right? But you didn't say that there was a public. This public meeting was not posted. It was non-public. Usually your agendas will say non-public followed by public at this time.
Yeah.
This said non-public.
Okay, that was
And
an
then you
error.
went into public and discussed things that nobody knew you were discussing because they weren't on an agenda. This is one warning. That is an illegal meeting. Please don't do it again.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
an error.
You should know better.
Yep, okay.
Duly noted.
Okay. Did we,
Anything you really discussed in that is not legal. Any motion you made is not legal. Right? Think about it.
okay. So I will say this, and I'm not saying, I'm trying to say, we're not taking this under advisement. Every motion we made, we talked about tonight in this meeting, so, and several of them we re-voted on, so, just so the public knows, but we'll be more careful next time, I guess. I forget where we left off. Did we
So you need to
call for a vote?
Yeah, call for a vote for the public
Edvin?
meeting minutes.
Aye.
Aye. Bob?
Aye.
Charlie?
No.
And I'm an aye, so. All right, any interest in unsealing any non-public session minutes? Okay, any announcements? Trish, you already did your announcement. I will say this, our next meeting's supposed to be May 17th. I will be delayed in getting to that meeting till about 7:15. So just so cards are on the table. Edvin, are you referenced it earlier, you have some issues with Tuesday nights for a little while?
Yeah, I'm going to be on a week-by-week basis, so I really won't know for a couple weeks.
Okay, so you'll let us know, because if I'm running late, it's very likely just going to be two people. We won't have a
You
quorum.
won't be able to do a non-public, but you could do the regular meeting at 7,
Well, no, if he's on, well, at 7:15, yeah.
3 of you.
But yeah, so we'd have to start a meeting then, so it's whatever anybody wants to do. As we get closer, if Edvin could keep us posted, I think that would be good.
Unless you want a special meeting for, special non-public to do the non-public stuff on a different night.
We could, yeah.
Are you doing anything with the essays tonight?
Are we still in
what?
the meeting? Just checking.
Yeah.
Still in the meeting, yeah. What is that?
The essays, are you doing anything with that tonight?
Yeah, that's a good point, and I'm going to,
I turned my vote in for my 2.
you did turn in your vote?
Yes, I
Diane
did.
and I reviewed them, we have ours as well.
Okay, so what she's talking about is we have a Memorial Day essay contest for the students, and the board was asked to, I think it was 5, right?
Yep.
So there were 5 for us to review, so I'd just like to remind the board to send your votes to me, and then we'll announce at a future meeting who won, and that person will read at the Memorial Day service.
Well,
So
Diane has my 2 votes.
she does, perfect. Okay. Anything else for tonight?
Just so you know, I sent mine in that day.
That's good to know.
I just have to go find them.
All right, it's 10 o'clock. So it's 10 o'clock. I think we've done this enough. Anybody want a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.